Chapter 1484. The airship hovered in the air by itself. Inside the ship, a white fog suddenly appeared. Gu Qingshan and Lin both appeared. "Who is this?" Lin looked at Chen Fifth and cautiously asked. Gu Qingshan nodded to Chen Fifth. Chen Fifth disappeared. Shanu turned back into a sword and returned to Gu Qingshan's hand. Lin sighed in relief and quickly explained, "I'm afflicted by countless wraith curses, as well as the Wraith Realm's causality law. I can only temporarily suppress them. They'll erupt sooner or later. I can't stay here for too long. I'll dispel the curses for you," Gu Qingshan said. "You know how to dispel wraith curses?" Lin asked. "A bit, but you're afflicted by several dozen tracking curses, as well as a large-scale law. I won't be able to dispel them in a hurry. Can you endure the pain?" Gu Qingshan asked. Lin scowled and coldly replied, "It's only been a few days since we last met, and you're already looking down on me?" Gu Qingshan didn't say anything else. He drew the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword and said, "Endure it." Lin stared at him without moving. The sword flashed. Lin was pierced by the sword. "Oh, you're going to kill me?" she scowled. "No, this is the technique to dispel all curses, Shano." Gu Qingshan replied. The sword abruptly trembled. Countless dark gray images appeared on Lin's body, broke apart layer by layer, and disappeared without a trace. "Lawbreaker." Lin wiped the cold sweat off her face and casually said, "This is the first time I've seen someone dispel curses like this." Before she finished, Gu Qingshan forcefully pulled the sword away from Lin's body. He put the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword away, formed a healing hand seal, and placed his hand on Lin's wound. Lin sensed it and found that the countless curses on her body, as well as the Wraith Realm's causality law, had all disappeared. She then looked at Gu Qingshan's hand on her wound, then smirked and asked, "Taking advantage of me?" Gu Qingshan lowered his head, not daring to look at her, and said seriously, "The wound is deep. Let me heal it for a bit longer." Seeing how cautious he was, Lin couldn't help but chuckle. "After that kiss, I accepted the Eternal Abyss mission and arrived at the Wraith Realm. Who knew that Gu Qingshan would appear here? You don't suspect me?" Gu Qingshan suddenly asked. Lin chuckled. "That punch of yours looked quite ferocious, but it was the martial scripture I taught you." She looked at Gu Qingshan and spoke. "Everyone from the bygone era has either died or disappeared from the reality gate, leaving only me. I see," Gu Qingshan said. Lin continued, "Little man, I never thought I would meet you in the Wraith Realm. What did you get in?" She was tall and slender, almost as tall as Gu Qingshan. She put her arm on Gu Qingshan's shoulder and stroked Gu Qingshan's hair. "We've already kissed. Why are you still holding back?" Gu Qingshan was perplexed. "You can read minds, so why don't you know about my situation? Also, you have the destiny skill existence. How did you get discovered by the Wraiths?" Lin didn't answer her and instead explained, "The barrier outside the Wraith Realm was unimaginably powerful. All the abyssal forms were captured and killed. Only I managed to break in. Why were you the only one who managed to enter?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Because I'm the strongest," Lin replied. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but nod again. Lin was no longer the abyssal fate weaver of the past. She had obtained an even more powerful abyssal form when she left the God of Death's inheritance. Her current strength had far surpassed what it was during the Age of Old. Lin took out a new ring and wore it on her finger. "The Wraith Realm's barrier is like this. The stronger you are, the more damage you'll receive when you enter the Wraith Realm. So I retracted my abyssal form and turned back into a human, then sealed my strength to the absolute minimum to barely make it in." Gu Qingshan realized and asked, "Which means all of your abilities have been sealed?" Lin replied, "That's right. Even so, I was still being tracked by the causality law. As soon as I entered, I was immediately surrounded by countless wraiths. Not even having the chance to release my powers." Gu Qingshan sighed. "I already knew that the Wraith Realm wouldn't be easy to break into, but I didn't think it would be this difficult." Lin smiled and said, "If it weren't for that strike of yours just now, I would have been discovered by the wraiths and wouldn't have been able to escape death." She took a step back and put the ring on. "Now, I'm going to put on my abyssal form and recover my powers." Following this declaration, supernatural phenomena began to manifest. Flaming clouds manifested around Lin's body, giving off a blinding glow. Lin stood in the middle of the flaming clouds and chanted, "With the abyss as my witness, with my thoughts of the past, I forged the body of today." Without a sound, her entire being seemed to have changed. All the flaming clouds enveloped Lin's body, manifesting into a bright red battle robe adorned with countless gems. The light of the flames lingered around Lin's body, then slowly faded into Lin's body, manifesting as 12 layers of wings. A 12-winged seraph. Guqing, Shan muttered blankly. The eternal abyss actually created an angelic armor that could allow Lin to completely turn into a seraph. After donning the armor, Lin looked at Guqing Shan. Her expression slowly changed. "So after so many things happened, you had to use distortion to return to this moment," she sighed. She could now read Guqing Shan's mind. "Indeed, to deal with the Wraith Realm, I can't be trapped in the temporal oasis. I have to make preparations ahead of time," Guqing Shan replied. Lin stayed silent for a bit, then said, "I'm leaving, you're leaving?" Guqing Shan asked in surprise. Yes, the Eternal Abyss had discovered something strange, something that was even more important than the war itself, Lin muttered. Within the kingdom of angels, there was a blazing angel who had been sealed away for countless years. She was the most powerful angel of war, and now that she had sensed the changes in the world of angels, she had finally awakened. Guqing Shan was a bit surprised, then asked, "You've used existence?" Lin glanced at him and nodded. "From now on, I've become a blazing angel. Aside from you, all living beings in the infinite worlds will know that an entity like myself exists in the world of angels, which means only those who witnessed you using existence wouldn't be deceived." Indeed, Lin put something in Guqing Shan's hand, stroked his face, and said, "The Eternal Abyss believes that the Wraith Realm isn't just a single world. If we don't investigate the true secret of the Wraiths, the Eternal Abyss will not be able to win against it." Guqing Shan looked down to see that it was a pocket watch in his hand. On the watch, the hour and minute hands were constantly moving. All of a sudden, the pocket watch gave off a clear ding-dong sound. Lin immediately said, "Time's up. I have to leave now." Guqing Shan hurriedly asked, "Wait a minute, then what should I do?" Lin smiled and said, "You just act like you did in the age of old." She held another pocket watch in her hand and lightly pressed it. In an instant, the world completely disappeared. Hymns, flowers, fountains, palaces, all sorts of scenes from the world of angels appeared one after another. Lin took a step back and entered the scene. She looked at Guqing Shan and reminded him one last time, "The pocket watch was given to me by the Eternal Abyss, so it probably has some secrets as well. I have to go to the angel now. Take care of yourself. We'll definitely meet again later on." Ho. Lin disappeared. The entire scene of the world of angels also disappeared. Guqing Shan found himself still standing on the airship. He looked down. The pocket watch was still ticking nonstop. Chapter 1485. Lin. She left just like that. She was clearly in the Wraith Realm, but she disappeared from Guqing Shan's sight and went straight to the angel world. Guqing Shan was certain that Lin's departure didn't trigger the barrier of the Wraith Realm. Then, she's still in the Wraith Realm? Or rather, the angel world is a part of the Wraith Realm? Guqing Shan thought for a bit, but still couldn't figure out the situation. It can't be helped. There are too many secrets within the infinite worlds, not to mention an existence like the Wraith Realm that hides everything. Guqing Shan sighed, then looked down at the pocket watch in his hand. This was a thick gray pocket watch with a thick outer casing. It didn't look like much, but it was constantly giving off a ticking sound. As time passed, the black needle on the surface was constantly moving. A second later, lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the War God UI, frowny face, discovered item. Non-fusion type world linking device. This linking device has the ability to warp to a closed circular world. At certain fixed moments, you can use this linking device to directly warp to another world that is linked to the current one. A masterpiece of technology. Guqing Shan looked at this pocket watch without moving. Non-fusion type world linking device. The key lies in the words non-fusion type and linking. Guqing Shan asked, "War God UI, what is non-fusion type? And what is linking?" The war god UI deducted his soul points and replied, "Non-fusion type are worlds that cannot be fused. They use other methods to create a closed circular structure. The laws between these worlds are extremely strict. If the laws aren't satisfied, it would be impossible to warp from one world to another. Linking, on the other hand, goes beyond the laws, as long as certain conditions are met. One would be able to directly warp between these closed circular worlds. That's all for now. Guqing." Sean fell into thought for a while. The information contained in this answer was too much. He suddenly recalled many things. A closed circular structure. As Guqing Shan pondered, his heart skipped a beat. Isn't the samsara a closed circular structure? As for linking, wouldn't it be able to directly warp from the heaven realm to Huangquan, then from Huangquan to the human realm? Could it be? He looked carefully at the dial. There were 6 scales on the dial, and 4 of them already had their corresponding icons. One of them was the demon's mask. One of the icons was angel wings. One icon was the dark tunnel. There was also an icon that indicated a door. Guqing Shan had seen that door before. The gates of hell. At this moment, the pointer on the dial was pointing at the angel wings. Lines of glowing text appeared. Frowny face attention. At this moment, you can activate the non-fusion type world linking device to head to the angel world. Pay 10,000 soul points, and you'll be able to directly jump to that world. Attention! Once you jump to the angelic world, you will temporarily be unable to return to the Wraith realm until the clock once again points to the Wraith realm. Guqing Shan stared at the dial for a while and found that the hands were moving according to the normal flow of time. In other words, whenever he reached a certain point in time, the watch would bring him to the designated world. From the records on this watch, it most likely belonged to the Wraith realm. For the eternal abyss to be able to obtain such a thing, it must not have been easy. All of a sudden, Guqing Shan recalled something. Back in Void City, when I attacked the church, the Fakomaki was about to retreat. What did he do at the time? Right, he looked at the clock on the wall and said, "Dash, it's about time. Let's head to heaven first, then to that place." Guqing Shan silently nodded. This made it clear that the holy child of the angel was waiting to enter the angelic world that was connected to the Wraith realm. Guqing Shan suddenly felt a sense of fear. This was an involuntary fear. His instincts told him that some sort of huge and hidden secret was slowly revealing itself to him. At first, he thought that the Wraith realm was only a samsara fragment world. Later on, the Wraith realm actually had a long tunnel that connected numerous apocalyptic worlds, leading to an unknown place. When he thought that he understood the situation here, Lynn appeared. She used a pocket watch to leave the Wraith realm and enter the angelic world. Then she obtained this watch. There were 6 markings on it, each of which represented 4 worlds. What exactly does this represent? Guqing Shan muttered. 6 markings, 4 of which already have worlds. Then what do the other 2 blank markings represent? War God UI, do you know? The blank markings represent that it has yet to connect to a world, the War God UI replied. In other words, the 6 markings represent preparations for 6 worlds, 4 of which are already in place. Only 2 more worlds are missing, Guqing Shan replied. Correct, the War God UI replied. 6 worlds. The samsara. Are the wraiths trying to recreate another samsara? What exactly are they trying to do? Before the Son of God's clone left, he had said something to him. The era of the samsara clash for supremacy is about to arrive, and we are preparing to destroy the entire samsara and rewrite the future of the era from the current situation. This is quite possible. Wait. Guqing Shan quickly realized. Xuannu had said something. But now that the eternal abyss has been defeated and will soon be defeated, the 3 masters will begin to compete for the position of Lord of War of our Wraith realm. The position of Lord of War of the Samsara was prepared for the future Samsara clash for supremacy. If they wanted to destroy the Samsara, why would they need to participate in the saint selection and compete for the position of Lord of War? Xuannu is a Wraith Lord subordinate, currently drinking with me and treating me as his little brother, so he wouldn't lie to me. The Holy Child of Angel is wary of me, so he wouldn't tell the truth. Guqing Shan fell into thought and glanced at the watch again. On the blank markings on the watch's face, there are only 2 positions left. Once the 6 worlds form a closed loop, what would the wraiths do? The more she thought about it, the more fearful Gu Qing Shan felt, as if she had fallen into an endless abyss of darkness. The truth of the secret was too vast, too intricate. After countless years, countless calculations and designs, it was slowly taking shape. All of a sudden, Gu Qing Shan's expression changed. Within his inner sight, countless wraiths were conducting a carpet search from the sky to the ground. They were approaching the airship. Shanu's voice came. Gongzi, the wraiths are almost here. Do you want me to turn into Chin Fifth? Gu Qing Shan hesitated. At first, he planned to save Lin, hide her on the airship, and escape with her on the way to Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction's palace. He managed to save Lin, but also revealed a huge secret to me. What now? Gu Qing Shan thought briefly. Forget it. I can't use this identity anymore. He shook his head. Why not? Gongzi, you can pretend to be Xuan Nu, and I can pretend to be Chun Fifth, Shanu doubtfully asked. Gu Qing Shan replied. Xuan Nu's status might be relatively high, so if he dies, the Wraith Lord's palace would probably know. We have to go. Then where are we going? Shanu asked. I'll give a try first, Gu Qing Shan replied. A mass of white fog appeared and enveloped him, but quickly faded away. In the void of space in front of him, lines of glowing text appeared one after another. Frowny face, your world technique. Fog realm descent has been restricted by the laws of a closed cycle world and is being blocked by the law barrier. You cannot leave this world and enter the world barrier tunnel. Gu Qing Shan sighed and said, Sure enough, it's a closed cycle world. I can't do anything about it either. At this point, the Wraith's voices could be heard from outside. This is Wraith Lord Fate Obstructions. Airship, where are they? They also seem to be part of the search. Is there anyone else on the airship? Let's take a look. Without hesitation, Gu Qing Shan once again gathered white fog around his body. He disappeared, deep inside the mine. A secluded tunnel. As the white fog faded, Gu Qing Shan appeared. Chapter 1486. A thick stench of blood could be faintly felt from outside the mine. Today, when a cloud-patterned spirit ore was discovered in the mine, the mining cultivators immediately rioted. Then Xuan Nu came to suppress them, killed the manager and 2 squad captains, took Chenxi away, then ordered the new manager to kill the remaining squad captain, as well as the injured mining cultivators. After killing so many people in a busy day, it was finally nighttime. Today naturally wasn't a suitable day for mining. So after the new manager had established his authority, he happily announced that he would rest for the night and resume work tomorrow. Gu Qing Shan concealed his presence, still hiding deep inside the dark mine. He didn't do anything, only silently waiting for time to move forward. Finally, it was nighttime. Gu Qing Shan took out his pocket watch to take a look. The pointer moved forward from the angel wing icon, pointing at the dark tunnel. Ding dong. The pocket watch let out a clear chime. A line of glowing text appeared from the void of space. Frowny face, attention. You can currently activate the non-fusion type world linking device to head to the dark tunnel. By spending 10,000 soul points, you will be able to directly jump into the dark tunnel. Attention! Once you jump into the dark tunnel, you will temporarily be unable to return to the Wraith Realm until the clock once again points to the Wraith Realm scale. Would you like to pay? Yes, an invisible gust of wind drifted around Gu Qing Shan's hand, infusing it into the pocket watch. Ding, 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 ding. The pocket watch let out a resounding chime. Instantly, the world completely disappeared. The boundless darkness and the tunnel overlapped, displaying various apocalyptic scenes. Gu Qing Shan took a step back and entered the scene. The Wraith Realm immediately left him. The scenery around him slowly became clear, turning into a long, deep tunnel. Gu Qing Shan looked around and found that he was standing in front of a cliff. The platform of bones from before had already disappeared. All right, after taking a detour to the Wraith Realm, I've returned. I remember that Zhao Xiao Sung and I were at a fork in the road. I chose the left path, but there were actually 2 other paths, one going down, the other going forward. Gu Qing Shan muttered to himself. Since the left path had already ended, it would be better for me to go back and try heading in another direction. Before that, Gu Shan took out a colorful rooster statue from her bosom. At times like this, even a little bit of information would be extremely useful. Gu Shan reached out and pulled the comb of the colorful rooster. The rooster immediately came to life. "Oh, you're still alive?" The rooster cautiously looked around and asked. "He's still alive, but there are too many mysteries here. I need some information," Gu Shan said. "What's that in your hand? Let me have a look," Rooster said with interest. Gu Shan handed over the pocket watch. The rooster was actually a function of the war god UI, war god intelligence, so Gu Shan didn't hesitate at all. The rooster received the pocket watch, carefully fiddled with it for a bit before speaking. Strange, in the legends, there were supposed to be 12 scales. Who was hiding all of this? "You know about this thing?" Gu Shan quickly asked. "That's right. At that time, to avoid the apocalypse, the awaitings ran into the reality gate and met the owner of this thing," the rooster replied. Gu Shan listened carefully, but after a while, the rooster still didn't say anything else. "What happened after that?" Gu Shan asked. The rooster's eyes were straight, its mouth was closed, and its body was completely still as if it didn't hear anything. "Hey, what's wrong?" Gu Shan couldn't help but ask. The rooster whispered, "Don't be noisy. I'm just like a wooden chicken." "Why are you like a wooden chicken?" Gu Shan asked in confusion. "I've been reading a serial recently. This way of saying something halfway, but not finishing is basically a cliffhanger. Just look at your blank expression. Hee hee hee." The rooster suddenly came to life, slapped its belly with its wings and laughed, shaking its head. Gu Shan silently looked at this rooster, thinking that the next time I summon it, I'll definitely show it how I cook a chicken. But I'm still asking for it, otherwise I wouldn't know what happened all those years ago. But I'll definitely teach it a lesson from now on. Gu Shan silently swore. "Brother Rooster, your cliffhanger is quite impressive. Here, this is a small token of appreciation. Take it first." Gu Shan transferred 20,000 soul points over. Receiving this amount of soul points, the rooster became spirited again. "Ah, it's like this. Your pocket watch came from 4 powerful monsters of the void. They're the leaders of all void monsters. Known as the 4 evil gods of the void. Why are they called evil gods?" Gu Shan asked. The rooster explained. As soon as the awaitings hid in the reality gate, the 4 evil gods immediately discovered them. They also found out that almost all of the awaitings were heavily wounded. These 4 monsters were afraid that the awaitings would take control of the void after recovering. So they took advantage of the fact that the awaitings were heavily wounded to attack and devour several of the heavily wounded awaitings. This caused the wrath of both the Order and Chaos factions. The 4 powerful awaitings acted together and fought against the 4 monsters for several days, finally defeating them and taking control of the space vortex. As you know, the 4 most powerful awaitings were later called the Pillar Gods of the Void, namely Earth, Water, Fire, and Wind. From that point on, the 4 void monsters were defeated and fled, eventually disappearing without a trace. This thing in your hand is a trinket left behind by the 4 evil gods at this point. The rooster suddenly leaned close to Gu Shan's ear and whispered, "This dark tunnel was actually their work. Gu Shan, you need to find the item left behind by the 4 evil gods. Although I don't know what it is, it must be inside the tunnel. Perhaps that item will be able to help you." After saying so, the rooster turned back into a colorful statue and stopped moving. Gu Shan put the colorful rooster statue away. 4 evil gods. In other words, they were entities strong enough to fight against the Earth Creator head-on. But this tunnel is so deep that there's almost no end to it. How am I supposed to find the item left behind by the 4 evil gods? From the void of space, a thread of darkness manifested into a thread that coiled around his left arm. The other end of the black thread was pointing towards the direction of the tunnel. Gu Shan froze. He found that he could completely sense the information on the other end of the black thread. That was the location of the item I'm looking for. After a while, Gu Shan finally sighed and muttered, longing, as expected of a fate-type ability. When he obtained this ability, the war god UI had reminded him. This is an extremely unique and rare fate-type ability, as deep as the ocean and as powerful as God. You must slowly comprehend it in order to realize its true value. Gu Shan had now experienced the power of this fate-type ability. In times of need, fate would immediately provide guidance. This is a divine skill among divine skills. And now, he understood why the Wraiths desired this fate-type ability so much. I wonder how Fei Yu and the others are doing. And Crow, she wouldn't actually marry the Wraith Lord, would she? Following Gu Shan's thought, another black thread slowly manifested and coiled around his left arm. As soon as the other end of the thread flew out, it was caught by another thread that appeared out of nowhere. The two threads intertwined and slowly formed a single thread. All of a sudden, Fei Yu's voice resounded from the thread. Very well, Gu Shan, you've finally learned how to use this fate-type ability. Chapter 1487. You can use fate to contact me? Gu Shan asked in surprise. Of course you can. I just didn't think you'd take so long to study the power of fate, Fei Yu replied. Gu Shan said embarrassedly, I'm sorry. A lot of things happened. I didn't have time for it. How are things on your side? Fei Yu asked. Gu Shan told him what she had experienced, leaving out the rooster's words. Fei Yu immediately asked, You obtain a non-fusion type world-linking device? No wonder the Wraith realm is so hard to enter. So this was the ruin of the four deities for gods. Gu Shan repeated. Yes. Fei Yu didn't continue. She seemed to feel that this was common knowledge. These people had lived in the space vortex for countless years, so they naturally knew many secrets about the void monsters. She thought that Gu Shan was the same, so she didn't say anything. Fei Yu continued. We need your help right now. Gu Shan immediately skipped the thought and asked, How is your situation? Where's Crow? When are you getting married? Fei Yu sighed and spoke dejectedly. Crow will be marrying the Wraith Lord in 3 days. We originally thought that we would be able to do something after arriving, but we were instead invited into a palace. This palace was protected by a total of 49 causality laws. There was no way to escape. Buttercup's voice suddenly came from the thread. That's why I'm here to save you. She begrudgingly spoke. If it weren't for this causality barrier, the Wraiths wouldn't be able to do anything to us. Gu Shan was stunned for a moment, but she quickly reacted. Buttercup knows about my situation, so she must be hoping that I can use the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword to break through the causality barrier. It's this world barrier again. When I wanted to infiltrate the Wraith realm by myself, Buttercup had told me about how strict the Wraith realm's defenses were, as well as the usage of causality law. When Lin infiltrated the Wraith realm, she was also affected by the causality law barrier. Using the law of causality to form a barrier. Has the malevolence already mastered the power of the mystical to such an extent? Gu Shan pondered and suddenly sensed something. Ding! Ding! An indistinct echo came from within his body. This was the voice of the coin of the earth. At the same time, Gu Shan found that the black thread wrapped around her hand suddenly became thicker. The thread tugged at his hand even more forcefully, pointing at the tunnel ahead. Strange, what was going on? Gu Shan thought quickly. At this point, the blind nun's voice also resounded. But there's also the Great Flood, which is also something that we can't deal with. In truth, if we were to go all out and fight, we wouldn't be afraid of the Wraith Realm or the Wraith Lords. But they have the unlivable apocalypse and causality law barrier. Those two things are too annoying. Fei, you also chimed in. Gu Shan. Buttercup told me that you have a sword that's specifically designed to break spells. Could it even break causality spells? It shouldn't be an issue, Gu Shan replied. Fei Yu's mood improved a bit and said, Don't be hasty for now. We're currently constructing a few spells. Firstly, to summon you through the fate thread. Secondly, after you break through the causality law barrier, we'll all try our best to escape without leaving any traces or getting chased by the Wraiths. How long will it take? Gu Shan asked. 2 days. I'll contact you again in 2 days, Fei Yu replied. All right, be careful, Gu Shan told them. You too, Fei Yu also said. The two black threads that were connected to each other broke apart. Gu Shan stood still, staring at the black thread that had become thicker. He thought for a bit, then suddenly thought of something. Where's Lin? Just as this thought came to his mind, he saw another black thread appear on his arm, pointing straight into the depths of the path. This thread was a lot thinner, but not as thick as the previous one. The thread gave off a sense of urgency. TCH, this fate ability is truly miraculous and mysterious. If that's the case, then first, I'll follow this fate thread to see what's going on. Gu-Ching-Shan decided right away. He followed the tunnel and quickly reached the fork in the road again. 3 paths. The left path leads to the white bone platform, which I've already been there. The remaining 2 paths, one going down, the other going forward. Since he couldn't use his inner sight here, Gu-Ching-Shan could only crouch down to look at the path below. The tunnel was abnormally calm, but there was also a soundless gust of wind. The wind came from the other end of the path, carrying with it an indescribable scent. A series of rustling noises resounded in his ears, but when he tried to listen carefully, he couldn't hear anything at all. This feeling was very familiar to Gu-Ching-Shan. It felt like countless corpses and dead people were howling in pain. Could it be the path below leads all the way to Huang Quan? No. Gu-Ching-Shan quickly denied this thought. The path below was filled with immense despair and death. If there were countless dead people or dead people, it would only be normal for him. He wouldn't feel this way. Gu-Ching-Shan shook his head and looked at the other path. The path ahead, the thread that was wrapped around the arm, was pointing at the tunnel ahead. But this tunnel seemed very normal. As Gu-Ching-Shan stared at this path, he felt an indescribable resonance in his heart. Something seems to be waiting for me inside. Strange, what did the 4 evil gods leave behind when they created this tunnel to resonate with me? Gu-Ching-Shan drew his swords, prepared himself, and flew down the tunnel. Unexpectedly, this tunnel wasn't very long. Gu-Ching-Shan quickly reached the end of the tunnel. A sealed wall blocked his way. On the wall, there was a line of words written in an extremely ancient void language: frowny face, rest room of the gods. The black thread flew straight into the wall. The resonance in Gu-Ching-Shan's heart grew stronger and stronger as he slowly walked forward. All of a sudden, a golden glow flew out from his chest and hovered in the air. The coin of the earth. It flickered against the wall a few times before returning to Gu-Ching-Shan's body and disappeared. A few moments later, a cold mechanical voice resounded from the wall: frowny face, welcome back, owner of the coin of the earth, earth god of the 4 pillar gods, matriarch of myriad earths, matriarch of myriad earths. Gu-Ching-Shan's mind was in turmoil. Weren't the 4 pillar gods the earth creator? How did they become the matriarch of myriad earths? Could this be a ruin left behind by the matriarch of myriad earths before she was defeated by the earth creator? Or rather, the one who truly decides who is the pillar god is actually the coin of the earth. If that's the case, the 4 artifacts of the pillar gods are the true rulers of this void? As Gu-Ching-Shan continued to speculate, the wall had already parted. A line of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god: UI, frowny face, you've discovered the matriarch of myriad earth's resting room. A layer of light manifested in front of Gu-Ching-Shan and enveloped him. At the very next moment, Gu-Ching-Shan found himself standing in a vast, empty space. This place was eerily silent. Many hideous skeletons were tightly bound to the ground by black chains. They came in all shapes and sizes, many of which belonged to void races that Gu-Ching-Shan couldn't recognize. Gu-Ching-Shan scowled. Countless malicious illusions were lingering in front of his eyes. Only after he drew his sword and slashed at the air did the illusions disappear. These monsters had already been dead for countless years, but they still exuded a fierce and cruel presence. Capable of such a feat, I really wonder how powerful they were when they were alive. The darkness gradually brightened. Pure white light filled this entire space. Gu-Ching-Shan looked around. Not only were the corpses of these monsters chained up, they were also marked with various markings. Some of the corpses were half dissected, while others still had various strange tools on them. This looks like a scientific research lab. Could it be that the matriarch of myriad Earths was actually a scientific entity? Gu Shan recalled the Earth world. In that world, all supernatural powers couldn't be used, only technology could. That's right. The Earth creator obtained the coin, as well as the Earth world. It even asked me to go to that world to help solve a problem. Although Gu Shan received the answer, he still couldn't help but feel a bit strange. One of the most powerful monsters in the void turned out to be a scientific researcher. This caused him to be a bit stunned. The cold mechanical voice resounded again. This time a lot gentler, frowny face. You destroyed everything, leaving only a single project and a single creation. Summary. After you left, the project you ordered had been completed and put to use. Which project? Gu Shan cautiously asked. A technological causality barrier. The mechanical voice continued to explain. Causality techniques and weapons usually originate from the mystics. You were unwilling to accept this, so you conducted corresponding research through technological research. Then, combined with the power of the other three deities, you created this grasp of infinite world rejection, further deepening the technological causality barrier's research, which has now been completed. How does a technological causality barrier work? Wait a minute. Tell me first, how does a machine's command carry out causality judgment without a cause and effect? Gu Shan asked. Energy is about to run out. This room has been damaged. Initiating destruction sequence. Please retrieve the 12 scales grip of infinite rejection of the world of positive and negative from the void of space. An item flew in front of Gu Shan. As Gu Shan received it, he saw that it was a black watch. There were 12 scales on the watch, 4 of which were lit up, while the other 8 were in a dark state. The mechanical voice resounded again, frowny face, in accordance with your previous command. As soon as you retrieve these 2 items, all evidence will be erased. 3, 2, 1. Begin destruction. Instantly, everything disappeared from Gu Shan's vision. The room was gone. He returned to the tunnel, but the wall in front of him had already disappeared. In front of him was an endless cliff and darkness, just like the tunnel after the platform of bones collapsed. The war god UI suddenly lit up. Notification: you've obtained the 12 scales grasp of infinite world rejection. Please equip it on your wrist to activate its function. Chapter 1488. Gu Shan looked at the black watch and didn't put it on right away. A dark green sprite of light suddenly emerged from the watch and hovered in front of Gu Shan's eyes. The sprite of light expanded to form lines of ancient text. Frowny face. The 12 scales grasp of positive and negative worlds infinite rejection has been delivered. Now, transmitting information. After the technological causality barrier was completed, it was taken away for use and is now no longer under your control. All knowledge regarding this project will now be transmitted to your mind. Please prepare to accept it. When Gu Shan finished reading through it, the text gathered again, turned back into the sprite of light, and entered between his eyebrows. The war god UI immediately became busy. Frowny face. Detected knowledge base. Non-mystic type natural science causality barrier composition summary and blueprint. Would you like to accept this knowledge base? Description: this knowledge base is technological knowledge, classified as numerical information, does not contain any spells or powers. Gu Shan recalled his experience with order and chaos, as well as the inheritance of the tomb of myriad beasts, then suddenly sighed emotionally. Knowledge is still the most powerful, and there are no additional conditions, except, as soon as he said so, a lot of unfamiliar knowledge appeared in his mind. First, a few lines of summary appeared. Frowny face. Causality is a mystic-type power, using the power of science to actuate causality, the fundamental principle of which is the judgment of cause and effect. Firstly, through the highest degree of large-scale calculations, statistically analyze a certain cause from the perspective of the laws. Secondly, provide the required effect, link cause and effect, combining each individual to calculate the composition and evolution of causality. Thirdly, calculate the power required to satisfy the causality, gather the various technological techniques, and calculate the evolution of cause from the perspective of the laws. Fourthly, used the power of the coin of the earth to strip away all supernatural powers, maximize causality, and link cause and effect. Fifthly, the above is the summary in the technological aspect. The causality barrier is manifested through 9 main steps, as follows. It took Gu Qin-shan a total of 2 hours to fully comprehend all of this. This was the matriarch of Myriad Earth's original idea regarding causality. Because causality spells were practically impossible to research, she turned to research on world barriers and barriers, hoping to make a breakthrough in this direction. But before it could complete its research, it left. Now, this technology-based research had already bore fruit, but it was stolen by someone else. Fortunately, Gu Qin-shan finally obtained the relevant knowledge. What'd he do? Gu Qin-shan opened her eyes and pondered. He noticed a certain concept in the knowledge that formed the causality barrier. Fate. Fate is the thread of fate, and it's also the connection between all living beings and everything in the world. It determines the beginning, change, and ending of cause and effect. This was an explanation of the affinity between science and technology, but it gave Gu Qin-shan another idea. He raised his hand and looked at the silk thread wrapped around it. Longing. Threads of fate. I need to strip all supernatural powers to maximize the power of the threads of fate. In other words, the threads of fate are directly related to the cause and effect of all things. A thought suddenly emerged in Gu Qin-shan's mind. It was as if he had been hit, and he froze on the spot. Karma. Fate. As if enlightened, Gu Qin-shan stood still for a few breaths worth of time before slowly exhaling. The power of fate is too great. He couldn't help but mutter to himself. At this point, he recalled the explanation. Longing, you can see the connection between all things or living beings, understand this connection, and even do something with this connection. You have to slowly understand it. Only then will you realize its true value. Gu Qin-shan thought for a few more breaths worth of time, then took out the Songhai heavenly ship and called, Zhao Shao Ba. I'm here, Zhao Sheng's voice came. Send me back to Kunlun world. There's something I want to confirm, Gu Qin-shan said. You're coming in as well? There's no one guarding the heavenly ship outside. We'll all be in danger. It's fine, I'll find someone to guard. Shanu, help me keep watch. Yes. Gongzi. A second later, Gu Qin-shan disappeared without a trace. He reappeared in Kunlun world. It was still the same temple. Zhao Shao-sung stood in front of Gu Qin-shan and asked in confusion, Benefactor Gu, why did you come here? To test a theory, Gu Qin-shan replied. He stretched out his hand and willed it. Following his thought, a black thread appeared out of nowhere and coiled around his arm, while the other end connected to Zhao Shao-seng's arm. Zhao Shao-sung didn't notice anything. This was the power of fate, and it was also fate in the unseen world. It came and went without anyone noticing. Gu Qin-shan took a few steps back and said, Little monk, I'll go out now. You try to find me in Kunlun City. What for? Zhao Shao-sung didn't understand. I'm trying to verify something. Just go find me, Gu Qin-shan said. Zhao Shao-sung replied, Ba, I'm very familiar with Kunlun City. Unless you're purposely hiding, I'll be able to find you very quickly, Gu Qin-shan smiled and said. Then let's give it a try. We'll set the time limit at 2 hours. His figure flashed and flew out from the temple. Zhao Shao-sung sighed and clasped his palms together. Ba, to save the world of Kunlun and Jasperpool, Shao-sung will have to play hide and seek with someone. He flew out from the temple and began to search for Gu Qin-shan. 1 hour later, the streets were filled with people. Zhao Shao-sung was sweating profusely as he stood next to the wall, breathing heavily. Kunlun City was the place where he grew up and cultivated. Even though this was a large city, he knew it like the back of his hand. But he couldn't find Gu Qin-shan at all. How strange. There's no way I couldn't find him. Where exactly is he hiding? Don't tell me he went to Jasperpool. Zhao Shao-sung muttered and couldn't help but look up at the heavenly palace in the sky. All of a sudden, a voice came from the crowd. Time's up. No need to look for me. Zhao Shao-sung turned to look, only to see Gu Qin-shan smiling as she approached from the other side of the street. Ba, Benefactor Gu, Where exactly are you hiding? Zhao Xiaosong curiously asked. Gu Qingshan remained calm and casually replied, I'm just taking a stroll around the city. You must be lying to me. I've already scanned through the entire area 5 times, but I didn't see you at all, Zhao Xiaosong solemnly replied. Gu Qingshan was in a good mood, so she patted his shoulder. You couldn't find me because we aren't fated. Aren't fated? Yes, I've confirmed everything. Send me out first. There's something else I need to understand. All right, a few moments later, Gu Qingshan reappeared in the tunnel. Gongzi, are you all right? Shanu worriedly asked. I'm fine, Gu Qingshan replied. Shanu then turned back into a sword and returned to his thought sea. Gu Qingshan stood still and thought about it again. He had gained a deeper understanding of the fate-type ability, longing, and now it's time for me to take a look at the 12 scales grip of infinite rejection. This name is too long and hard to pronounce, so I don't know what it's used for. According to the War God UI, this item must be worn on the wrist in order to activate its function. Gu Qingshan didn't think about anything else and put the black watch on. In an instant, the entire tunnel disappeared in front of his eyes. A new world manifested around him. This was an empty world. 3 people were already waiting here. The 3 of them were standing a certain distance away from each other. All of them had cautious expressions on their faces. Gu Qingshan looked at them, then at the empty world around him, a bit confused. He chose a friendly-looking person and clasped his fist. My apologies. Why did I suddenly appear here? And who are you, sir? The other person glanced at him and replied, A newcomer? Gu Qingshan was surprised. The other person appeared sympathetic and sighed. What a pitiful fellow, pitiful. Another person followed up. I think he's the lucky one, the third person coldly replied. That's right, because today he only has to face death. All of a sudden, the empty world disappeared. The 4 of them appeared in the middle of a barren wasteland full of weeds. The 3 of them quickly drew their weapons. Someone sighed and muttered, It's about to begin. Gu Qingshan stared blankly at those people preparing for battle, unable to understand what was going on. Chapter 1489. There were 3 people in front of him. One was a bulky martial artist wearing a gauntlet, his gaze shrewdly observing his surroundings. One was a 15 to 16-year-old young man, wearing a black uniform with a reserved expression on his face. The last one was a skinny, dark-skinned man with a bare upper body, 3 skulls hanging in front of his chest, wearing a grass skirt that gave off a different kind of ferocious aura. While preparing for battle, they were also quickly observing their surroundings. Apparently because Gu Qingshan was a newcomer, both the young man and the skinny man didn't pay any attention to him. It was the kind-looking martial artist who spoke up. Listen up, newcomer, you must be a powerful professionist from the world you were born in, aren't you? Gu Qingshan was surprised. If that's the case, there's nothing wrong with that. The martial artist looked at his expression and continued. Each of us who were transported to this place represents the world we came from, the strongest combatants of that world in this place. You must complete endless quests of exploration. If you succeed, you will survive and your world will receive benefits. Otherwise, you will die. If we're so powerful, how could we die? Gu Qingshan asked in confusion. The martial artist looked at Gu Qingshan in confusion and asked, Although you're a newcomer, how come you don't know anything? Gu Qingshan was also a bit confused. This place was created by the 4 evil gods, so with the matriarch of Myriad Earth's level of expertise, she should have arranged everything flawlessly. So a newcomer like me should at least have some sort of explanation, right? But there was nothing. Gu Qingshan replied, I entered this place by accident. Perhaps an accidental entry like me is a special case? The martial artist replied, You should receive a preliminary explanation, then receive a weapon of your expertise, as well as a small storage space to store everything you find during your exploration. Gu Qingshan shrugged. I don't. The martial artist scratched his head and muttered in confusion. That's strange. The other 2 had been standing coldly on one side. Only now did they both look at Gu Qingshan. The youth said thoughtfully, A newcomer, and a newcomer who has not received guidance from the 4 gods. The tall man in the grass skirt grinned and said, Poor guy, he doesn't know what he's going to face. The 3 skulls that hung in front of his chest floated into the air and emitted thousands of will-o'-the-wisps. A murderous intent emanated from his body. Gu Shan looked at him and took a step back. She waved her hand and said, "Why do you want to kill him? Do you still want to fight among yourselves at this time? I bet you're no match for me, so don't waste your life." The dark-skinned tall man spat in disdain and muttered, "You don't know anything. One arrogant newbie." "Just nice. My supplies are almost used up, and my witchcraft also needs to absorb some souls in preparation for the next mission." The young man crossed his arms and said, "If you can leave his flesh and blood to me, I will help you. This way, we can save our strength." "Deal," the dark-skinned man said. The young man smiled and slowly lowered his hands, pulling out a long sniper rifle from thin air. "You take the front, I'll take the back," the youth said. "Very well." The dark-skinned man smirked and slightly lowered his body, ready to pounce at the very next second. Gu Shan stood still without moving. A faint glow flashed briefly in his eyes before disappearing. The secret art, water flow severance, from before had evolved into a Huang Quan divine skill, and Huang Quan divine skills weren't to be trifled with. Forgetting River Slash had already been prepared. Although these two are strong, it's still wishful thinking if they think they can survive a single glance from me. As the battle was about to erupt, a cold mechanical voice suddenly resounded from the void of space. "Frowny face, the 3rd phase of the mission is about to begin. Please accept the new mission. There's a ruin in the wilderness. After reaching it, you will see a strange corpse deep inside the ruin. Please attempt to approach the corpse. After confirming that there is no danger, wait for further instructions. Attention, the mission has begun. Anything unrelated to the mission will result in a negative score, leading to the baptism of the apocalypse." The mechanical voice disappeared. The young man and the lanky man's expressions both changed. "Ah, there's no time to kill him," the lanky man regretfully said. "The mission is more important." Saying so, the young man had already flown away. He was cautiously flying at a moderate speed, heading deeper into the wilderness. The lanky man glanced at Gu Shan one last time before also flying away. "They've left." The martial artist turned to Gu Shan and said, "I also have to leave, otherwise both I and my world will be erased. Is this the punishment for failing the mission?" Gu Shan asked. "Yes," the martial artist replied. At this point, the cold mechanical voice resounded again. "Please act immediately, or you will be erased." The martial artist and Gu Shan exchanged glances. The martial artist was unwilling to accept this. "Hurry up and leave." Gu Shan saw the martial artist's eyes filled with anger and helplessness. The martial artist no longer cared to talk to Gu Shan, leapt forward and hurriedly ran towards the wilderness. Only Gu Shan was left. "Ah, how absurd, but War God UI, why didn't you even give me a single notification?" He sighed and casually asked. His soul points was deducted. The War God UI replied, "Because you don't have a mission, I don't have one." As Gu Shan was about to chase after him, she stopped as she heard that. "Yes, you don't," the War God UI replied. His soul points were deducted again. Gu Shan opened his mouth, about to say something. Suddenly, a series of faint kacha-kacha sounds could be heard. Gu Shan looked down to see that the black watch on her wrist was lightly turning. On the dial, the 12 scales were divided into black and white sections. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. A total of 6 scales were in the white section, while the other 6 scales were in the black section. The hand quickly turned and slowly pointed at a certain scale in the white section. 11. The hand stopped in front of 11. An electronic voice resounded from the watch. "Connection complete. Identity confirmed." A second later, the cold mechanical voice resounded from the void of space again. "Frowny face, your majesty. Matriarch of myriad Earths. The scavenger mission has begun. Please wait patiently for the results to be confirmed." Gu Shan raised her eyebrows in surprise. This 12 scales grasp of infinite rejection seems to contain a certain plan of the 4 evil gods of the past. Although they're all dead, their plan seems to have continued to this day. Gu Shan pondered and asked, "What is the content of this scavenger mission?" The mechanical voice replied, "To explore the ruins within the 11th scale. After preliminary exploration, this place still contains great danger. To prevent the exploration from harming your majesty, the quest system has been used to summon manpower to conduct a cannon fodder exploration. As you have personally participated in this mission, the difficulty of this mission has been increased by 2 levels. The exploration has begun." A screen of light descended from above and enveloped Gu Shan. "To prevent any danger from harming your majesty, the strongest barrier has been applied to your majesty. As soon as any danger occurs, you will be transported out immediately. Your majesty, the exploration has now officially begun." Before Gu Shan could say anything, a screen of light had already appeared in front of him. In the wilderness, the real-time situation of the 3 people was being displayed on the screen, making it easy for Gu Shan to check on them at any time. Gu Shan watched as the 3 of them sneaked into the ruins, avoiding numerous dangers before finally arriving in front of the corpse. They all took out the tools they had prepared and began to examine the corpse. While Gu Shan was watching, the mechanical voice resounded again, "Frowny face, your majesty. This stage of the mission has not encountered any apocalypse. It has been successfully completed. Please wait a moment, your majesty. I will immediately have the 3 cannon fodder members return to you and report the results." A second later, the screen of light flashed. The martial artist, the young man, and the dark-skinned lanky man all appeared not too far away from Gu Shan. The 3 of them were all surprised. "What? You didn't participate in the mission, and you're still alive?" The martial artist exclaimed in shock. The other 2 also looked at Gu Shan in shock. The mechanical voice resounded again. "Mortals, kneel down and report your harvest to the gods." Chapter 1490. In the wilderness. A martial artist. A young man. A tall, dark-skinned man wearing a grass skirt and a skull. The 3 of them knelt in front of Gu Shan. A gust of wind blew past. The air exuded a sense of vicissitudes and ancientness. Who knows how many years this world has existed for? Gu Shan sighed, retracted her gaze, and looked at the 3 of them. "Kneeling while talking is quite tiring. It also hurts my pride. I really don't want to do this," he awkwardly continued. "About that, can I let them stand up?" A breath's worth of time passed. The mechanical voice answered, "The grace of God can naturally bring glory to mortals. If you allow, they can stand up." Gu Shan was pleased. "Then stand up." Gu Shan quickly stepped forward and helped the martial artist stand up. The other 2 also stood up. Gu Shan appeared surprised and pointed at the young man and the dark-skinned man. "Ha! I didn't tell you 2 to stand up." The 2 of them froze. The mechanical voice answered again. "So that's how it is. Mortals who haven't received God's grace kneel." The young man and the dark-skinned man stood still. The mechanical voice became frigid. "Your quest rewards have been canceled. If you do not kneel, you will both be turned to dust." "Pooh! Pooh!" The young man and the dark-skinned man both knelt down. Between life and death, it was a very easy choice. Gu Shan didn't look at the 2 of them, and instead clasped her fist towards the martial artist. "May I ask which world of the void you came from, sir?" The martial artist looked at Gu Shan and spoke as if he was sleepwalking. "By the grace of God, I came from a number 7961 tunnel world." A screen of light appeared in front of Gu Shan's eyes. At a certain part of the dark tunnel, the reality wall had revealed another world. This world was filled with various giant beasts, as well as martial artists who relied on these beasts. Lines of small annotations appeared. "Frowny face, 36,000 worlds have been explored and controlled." Marking, number 7967 tunnel world, a savage world, martial arts civilization. Gu Shan looked at the world wall and recalled the scene when she first entered the tunnel. At that time, after he erased the life talismans that covered the walls, he saw an ocean world, many worlds destroyed by the apocalypse. He even saw a giant walking alone on the wasteland. So there were actually so many worlds inside the tunnel. But no one had ever known this. The Wraith Realm had hidden the entire dark tunnel, so no one knew the secret of the tunnel. Countless years ago, The four evil gods occupied this place. Did they build this place? Gu Shan looked at the cultivators and continued to ask, "What is your harvest?" "You can tell me now," the martial artist replied. "We examined the remains and came to a conclusion through analysis. Just like before, this corpse died at the beginning of the apocalypse era. The moment the reality gate was opened, countless apocalypses descended. Before this corpse died, it resisted a total of 31 apocalypses, but was completely destroyed by the 32nd apocalypse." Gu Shan asked, "What other harvest did you get?" The martial artist replied, "Before the corpse died, it seemed to be trying to escape. Its posture told us that it was heading towards a certain direction. If you want to know more, we will need to continue exploring." As soon as he said so, a screen of light appeared. This screen appeared in front of Gu Shan. A line of glowing text quickly appeared on it. "Frowny face, your majesty, matriarch of myriad earths. In consideration of your presence here, the exploration authority has been transferred to you. Everything is now up to you. You may personally issue the follow-up quests." As Gu Shan silently read this line of text, his thoughts quickly surged. He didn't even need to think about it to understand something very important. The dark tunnel wasn't created by the four evil gods, because even they were still exploring this place. Gu Shan slowly sighed. What exactly is this tunnel? It hides at least 36,000 worlds, as well as a few apocalypses that were let in when the reality gate was first opened, and the ruins of the past. Gu Shan didn't even need to think to know that the opening of the reality gate was the moment when the awaitings entered. But what kind of civilization did these ruins belong to? Who knows? Who knows? Even the four evil gods had to constantly recruit cannon fodder to search for clues bit by bit. Lady Fusey once tried to peek into the Wraith Realm, but was blocked by some sort of mysterious power and couldn't reach this place. At this moment, Gu Shan felt like he was standing under the boundless starry sky, while the entire galaxy of stars above was filled with countless secrets that made it impossible for anyone to escape. He closed his eyes, then took 2 deep breaths. "You've done very well. You may now return with the corresponding reward," he told the martial artist. The martial artist asked in disbelief, "I can no longer participate in the follow-up quests." Gu Shan put his hand on the screen of light and said, "The number of participants will be changed to 2. The martial artist from a number 7967 tunnel may return to his world and conclude this quest." "Understood," the mechanical voice replied. A flash of light descended from above and enveloped the martial artist's body. He immediately vanished. Gu Shan then turned to the other 2 and continued, "Issue the quest. Continue to search in the direction the corpse escaped in until you find something. If the quest fails, then you're definitely dead. Reward for completing the quest, right? What kind of rewards do you usually get?" The mechanical voice replied, "Normally, the reward is time to survive, but if the quest completion rate is high, the reward will be a certain amount of world origin power. World origin power will help their world become stronger and produce more treasures." Gu Shan looked at the 2 of them and said, "Follow this rule." "Understood," the mechanical voice told the 2 kneeling people. "Begin issuing the quest." It repeated Gu Shan's words. After it finished, Gu Shan told the 2 of them, "Do a good job. I'm a very fair person. If you do a good job, I won't be stingy with your rewards." The 2 of them stood up. The dark-skinned lanky man said, "Even if what you said isn't true, we still have to listen to you, don't we?" He stared at Gu Shan. Gu Shan nodded. "That's right. When you were stronger, one of you wanted my soul, the other wanted my corpse, and now that I'm stronger than you, I want you to work. That's still very fair." The dark-skinned lanky man couldn't say anything else, so he turned around and silently headed back into the wilderness. The young man followed behind him. They quickly went far away. Gu Shan was still standing there blankly. A screen of light appeared in front of him, showing the scene of the 2 of them running forward. They went past the location where the corpse was discovered and continued to head deeper into the ruins. All of a sudden, the ground in front of them caved in. A deep cave was revealed. "We've discovered a cave," the dark-skinned, lanky man reported. His voice was transmitted to Gu Shan through the screen of light. "Continue to search," Gu Shan ordered. The dark-skinned, lanky man and the young man carefully went deeper into the cave. On the screen of light, the scenery around them turned dark. As the two of them went deeper, everything slowly became clear in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. As Gu Qingshan watched, she suddenly had a thought. I want to select a few people to participate in the next quest. Is that possible? The mechanical voice replied. Of course, you may choose any of the 36,000 worlds under the control of the four venerables. Gu Qingshan nodded. Very well. I need to select a few people from the Wraith Realm, Miaoshu House. Chapter 1491. The cold mechanical voice spoke. Your Excellency, in the next mission, you may select the Wraith Realm as well as arrange for the candidates within. Very well. Gu Qingshan turned back to the screen and continued to pay attention to the exploration mission. On the screen, the dark-skinned lanky man and the young man entered the underground cave. After going underground, the two of them were clearly much more cautious. They slowly moved forward in the darkness, occasionally stopping to observe their surroundings. From the screen, they could only see the outlines of some underground ruins in the darkness as they followed the two of them. Report, Gu Qingshan said. The young man spoke to the screen. Aside from the naked eye, all techniques are useless, but fortunately there are a few paths here that can still be recognized despite being covered in dust. Follow the path and see what's at the end of the path, Gu Qingshan said. The two of them continued forward. A few moments later, the dark-skinned, lanky man's voice came. There's a blurry object in front of us on the right. It should be the remains of a building. We're going to take a look. Go ahead, Gu Qingshan said. His line of sight moved along with the two of them. Very quickly, the two of them arrived at a relatively spacious area. In front of them was a tall platform. Most of this platform had already collapsed, leaving only a pile of rubble behind. There seems to have been a stone statue on this platform, but after countless years, the statue has also been completely destroyed, the young man said. Can you restore this statue to its original state? Gu Qingshan asked. The young man replied. There's too much damage. It might take a bit of time to find every part of the statue. The statue is worthless. We should look elsewhere, the dark-skinned lanky man also said. Restore the statue to its original state. I need to take a look, Gu Qingshan said. The young man and the dark-skinned lanky man exchanged glances, then helplessly crouched down and began to search for the broken parts of the statue. About half an hour later, they finally found all the fragments of the statue and placed them on the ground. The dark-skinned lanky man placed his hand on the fragments and shouted, Restore to its original state. All the fragments flew up and slowly gathered together to form a statue. All of a sudden, the screen of light in front of Gu Qingshan disappeared. Two hurried screams resounded in her ears. Heaven and earth turned upside down. At the very next moment, Gu Qingshan found herself back in the dark tunnel. It was quiet all around. There was no sound. What's going on? Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. A mechanical voice sounded from the Black Watch. Your Holiness, the two cannon fodder discovered a statue that they couldn't face directly. They're dead. In order to ensure your safety, I immediately activated the teleportation spell and teleported you out of the ruins within the 11th scale. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Dead? The dark-skinned tall man and the youth didn't even have time to react before they died, just like that. A statue that can't be looked at directly. Do we have any records of such a thing? Gu Qingshan asked. The mechanical voice continued. According to the statistics of previous explorations, the various types of cannon fodder had encountered the statues that cannot be faced 3 times in total, and all of them died, thus determining its name as the statues that cannot be faced. Do we have any information about this statue? Gu Qingshan asked again. No, the mechanical voice replied. All dead. Gu Qingshan suddenly realized something. This is a place that even the 4 gods of the void have to be cautious of. If it's so dangerous, why did the 4 evil gods insist on exploring this place? Gu Qingshan's thoughts turned, then suddenly said, I want to select personnel to continue the exploratory mission. Please select a world and personnel, the mechanical voice replied. Wraith Realm, Gu Qingshan replied. A screen of light appeared in front of him. A dark temple appeared on the screen. This is the most powerful world. Wraith Realm's Wraith Temple. You can immediately announce what personnel you need, the mechanical voice replied. Guqing Shan put his hand on the screen and said, Personnel confirmed. Fate Obstruction, Giant Frame, and Karmic Flame, the 3 Wraith Lords. Please select the corresponding mission, the mechanical voice replied. The mission is still to explore the 11th scale ruins. Have them enter the cave just now and conduct the corresponding exploration, Guqing Shan replied. Understood. The Wraith Realm. The 3 Wraith Lords weren't in the Wraith Temple. They were standing outside a magnificent palace, and behind them were countless evil spirits. Wraith Lord Giant Frame took a step forward and sent his voice into the palace. City Lord Fei Yu, we have something to report. A few moments later, Fei Yu's voice resounded from inside the palace. Go ahead, Wraith Lord Giant Frame clasped his fist. After much consideration, we have decided to bring forward the date of the wedding. Fei Yu's voice suddenly became louder. We already agreed to hold the wedding 3 days later. Why are we bringing it forward? Do you think my marriage is a trifling matter? Wraith Lord Giant Frame didn't say anything. Wraith Lord Karmic Flame took a step forward and said, City Lord Fei Yu, we've already made it clear we urgently need your power right now, no matter what. His words abruptly stopped. An unusual fluctuation descended from above, descending upon the 3 Wraith Lords. This is how strange. Why did the 3 of us be chosen at the same time? Hurry to the Wraith Temple. The 3 Wraith Lords all disappeared. Inside the palace, everyone who was waiting were all shocked. The ominous Demon Tower's master asked, What's going on? Why did they suddenly run away? Buttercup replied, I'm not sure. They clearly came to force Fei Yu. Why did they disappear? Fei Yu said nothing and coldly looked outside the palace, saying, We don't know, but the Wraiths all know what happened. Everyone looked outside, only to see that the Wraith Lord's subordinates were all standing still. Crow suddenly spoke up. From the looks of it, those 3 Wraith Lords will return sooner or later. Guqing Shan stared closely at the screen of light. On the screen, the 3 Wraith Lords suddenly appeared inside the Wraith Temple. The fluctuation of a teleportation technique surrounded them. As the teleportation was about to complete, the 3 Wraith Lords leapt onto the platform at the same time. Their bodies slowly turned into stone. They had turned into 3 statues. At the same time, a mechanical voice abruptly spoke up. Your Excellency, the ones you've chosen have rejected this summoning. Guqing Shan asked, Can they still refuse? The mechanical voice explained. Within the 36,000 worlds, no mortal can refuse the summoning of the 4 gods, but the 3 of them have the same level of authority as your Excellency, so they can refuse the summoning. Guqing Shan pondered. Why do they have the same level of authority as the 4 gods? The mechanical voice replied, Because aside from earth, water, fire, and wind, there is a 5th level of authority, which grants them the right to refuse. Guqing Shan immediately asked, Who does the 5th level of authority belong to? The mechanical voice replied, There is no relevant explanation. Is the 5th level of authority higher, or the 4 gods' authority higher? The 5th level of authority, the mechanical voice replied. Guqing Shan didn't say anything else. He stared closely at the 3 statues on the screen of light, his thoughts churning. The Wraiths. There are too many secrets. What kind of entity would grant them the same level of authority as the 4 gods? If the 4 gods are exploring this dark tunnel, then what about the Wraiths? What are they doing here? I need to make another trip to the Wraith Realm to see for myself what's going on in this world. To the Wraith Realm, Guqing Shan suddenly thought of something. He took out the pocket watch and opened it. There were 6 markings on the pocket watch. This was something given by the Eternal Abyss. Guqing Shan put the pocket watch on his wrist at the same level as the black watch. There were 12 markings on the black watch. These were left behind by the 4 evil gods. Guqing Shan looked at the pocket watch, then at the black watch. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Within the silent darkness, the 2 watches gave off the sound of the ticking of the needle. Chapter 1492. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Within the deathly silence, the two watches gave off the same rhythmic ticking sound. At this point, there was nothing else in the dark tunnel except for the ticking of the two watches. The pocket watch with 6 ticks represented 6 worlds. The pocket watch with 12 ticks represented 6 white worlds, as well as 6 completely dark ticks. I should have thought of that. There must be some sort of connection between them. Gu Qingshan muttered to himself. All of a sudden, a resounding voice resounded in the darkness, frowny face ally of the Divine King. Entrusted by the Divine King, envoy of the Empress, the 3 of you may learn of the Pantheon's past, the beginning of the apocalypse. Gu Qingshan abruptly looked up. There was nothing else in the dark tunnel, and no one at all. But the entire dark tunnel was becoming brighter. It was becoming brighter and brighter, almost turning into a sea of light. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared in the void of space. Frowny face attention. 3 items on your body are resonating with the dark tunnel, Gu Qingshan replied. I noticed. He took off the abyssal ring, placing it together with the pocket watch and the black watch. These 3 items were giving off faint vibrations that resonated with the entire dark tunnel. The abyssal ring, the non-fusion type world linking device, the 12 ticks grasp of infinite rejection. What exactly is going on? Gu Qingshan asked. The war god UI replied. The system does not know the specifics, but the resonance of these 3 items seems to have activated a certain function of the dark tunnel. Gu Qingshan was surprised. Even though he had faced countless difficult situations and unexpected situations, he still didn't know what he was going to face at this moment. The world faded away. A new world manifested. Gu Qingshan suddenly found himself standing in front of a towering divine temple that reached all the way into the clouds. The architectural style of this divine temple was very familiar, almost like the inner plane. All of a sudden, the entire world began to collapse and shrink. I didn't think you'd be able to do this. Just in time for me to borrow the power of this projection to talk to you, a voice resounded. Gu Qingshan slightly looked up to see a figure slowly manifesting in the void of darkness. He stood opposite Gu Qingshan. Boss. Gu Qingshan calmed down and said, You gave me the abyssal ring a long time ago, saying that it was a ring of alliance between the eternal abyss and I. In other words, from that moment on, you had already predicted today's events? Boss said, The book of prophesied destiny has shown itself. But more importantly, what? Gu Qingshan asked. I can see boundless potential in you. You're someone from the samsara, and you have a close relationship with the awaitings. As you grow stronger, you will meet her sooner or later, Boss said. Who is she? Gu Qingshan asked. Boss said, You know. Gu Qingshan was silent for a while. Suddenly, she recalled the future scene that she saw when she was in a state of spiritual wonder. A woman clad in endless starlight stood in front of Xie Daoling. After countless years, I've finally found you. Now, you shall be destroyed forever. Saying so, the woman attacked Xie Daoling. Reneedle. Gu Qingshan appeared to understand and asked, Why does she want to deal with someone from the samsara? Boss replied, Because she has a certain fear towards the samsara. She can see things that the myriad deities can't. So she wanted to completely destroy the samsara, but after many years of effort, she found that it was impossible after that. She began to take into fragments of the samsara for her own use, like the Wraith Realm. Gu Qingshan carefully thought, then said, The fate corrosion was also her doing indeed. The Wraith Realm listens to her orders, Boss confirmed. The entire matter is finally clear. Gu Qingshan sighed and said, Boss, what exactly are you trying to do by appearing now? Are you going to help her kill me, or are you going to kill her together with me? Boss didn't answer her, and instead tilted his head. I've now lost all of my powers. What else do you think I can do? But now that you've received the support of order, you'll only become stronger and stronger from now on, Gu Qingshan replied. Boss smiled and sighed. I'll never be as strong as I was before. Gu Qingshan sharply asked. Yes, I think you should know what my title is, Boss replied. Gu Qingshan replied, The Abyssal King, the exiled apostle, the peerless fallen one, greatest above the star crown, the great lord of infinite origins, Boss replied. In the past, I only had a single title. People call me the Great Lord of Infinite Origins. Why did they call you that? Because countless worlds were born from my body. Living beings enjoyed the beauty of life. Until the reality gate opened, the apocalypse descended and destroyed my body. Guqin Shan didn't say anything. He had already thought a certain shocking answer. So he calmly spoke, "Don't tell me that the eternal abyss is actually your body." Boss shook his head. "Of course not." Guqin Shan sighed. Boss continued, "It's only a part of my body." Guqin Shan froze. Normally, whenever they talked about the eternal abyss, Boss would always act nonchalant. It wasn't until now that Guqin Shan realized how shocking the truth was. Boss seemed to have noticed something and continued, "The power of the projection is limited. I don't have enough time to tell you much. Let me tell you about the past as soon as possible. On the day the reality gate opened, I was attacked by countless apocalypses. A part of my body brought the deities away and re-established a sanctuary, which was the inner plane. My body turned into the eternal abyss that protected the inner plane, while I used the method of death to reignite life and become the king of the myriad deities. But Renito wasn't willing to accept that, because a part of my body that contained even greater power was left behind in the pantheon." Boss pointed at the ground beneath their feet. The dark part of the 12 scales were the ruins of the pantheon after it was destroyed. That part of my body was hidden within one of the scales. Guqin Shan cut him off and asked, "Is Renito looking for your body?" Boss replied, "Indeed, this part of my body contained a considerable amount of power. She was deeply afraid of the future and desired the power I had back then." Guqin Shan, "You can't let her obtain my past body. Otherwise, everything will be irreversible." Boss sighed tiredly and said, "The current her is no longer the same as before." Before he finished, Boss's figure disappeared without a trace. Guqin Shan found herself back in the dark tunnel. Everything was silent, as if nothing had happened at all. A notification quickly appeared on the War God UI. "Frowny face, the projection's power has been exhausted. Your conversation has ended." Chapter 1493. The conversation ended. Boss's figure disappeared. Guqin Shan recalled his expression, silently thought for a while, then sighed. "I entrusted it to the wrong person." Boss had entrusted the inner plane to Renito. But this empress directly caused the entire inner plane's divine kingdom to collapse. Even Boss himself was killed by her and pushed into the eternal abyss. Later on, he even borrowed the fate corrosion to attack the eternal abyss again. From his expression, Guqin Shan could tell that he still had feelings for Renito. Really, why would he be infatuated with such a woman? Guqin Shan sighed again. "I really should help Boss with this. We're learning online while he's being killed by a woman online. That's quite pitiful. Once I return, I'll definitely bring Boss along to learn from Yi Fei Li, love expert, online learning." Putting aside her distracting thoughts, Guqin Shan looked at the 3 items in her hand. They were still trembling, resonating, and activating their power. Lines of glowing text appeared in front of Guqin Shan. "Frowny face, the 3 items are about to be destroyed, causing a new change. If you do not want to lose them, the UI can borrow your soul points to prevent this from happening. Attention, this change contains the power of space-time. It is completely irreversible. You must quickly make your decision and not regret it." Guqin Shan went silent. "The abyssal ring has a 50% chance of granting me an abyssal form. The non-fusion type world linking device allows me to freely travel through angels, wraiths, Huang Quan, and tunnels. The 12-scale grasp of infinite rejection gives me even more options, allowing me to directly restrict the Wraith Lord from afar. If all 3 of these items are destroyed, how am I supposed to return to the Wraith realm to save them?" However, their subsequent reactions were clearly due to Boss's backup plan. "No matter what, I have to help Boss." Guqin Shan sighed and said, "Ignore them. Let them fuse." "Understood. The UI has given up on interfering," the War God UI replied. In the next second, 3 dots of light flew out from the watch, pocket watch, and ring. As soon as the 3 dots of light appeared, the 3 items completely disintegrated into a pile of components, no longer existing. The 3 spots of light fused into one, and formed a black glove, which was put on Gu Qingshan's hand. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. You're wearing the gloves of the sealing signet. You are about to receive the power of the Lord of Infinite Origins. Prepare for the first darkness scale. Attention, please. This scale is a ruin, but since you have the sealing seal glove, you are about to enter a certain period of time in that ruin's history. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, teleport. Gu Qingshan disappeared from where she stood. Dang, dang, dang. A melodious bell rang out. Gu Qingshan found herself standing on the roof of a cathedral. It was a fine day. Below, there was an endless stream of people and carriages, as if a grand celebration was being held. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Weren't we supposed to go to the ruins of the Pantheon? How did it become space-time travel instead? A line of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, the Lord of Infinite Origins, hid the sealing signet within a certain period of history. You have now arrived at the age of technological civilization. The technological world is protected by the Earth God. People rely more on the achievements of natural science to develop their civilization. Extraordinary powers will be greatly weakened here. Naturally, the Earth God is not included. As long as you pay with soul points, you will be able to use your supernatural powers as an Earth God. Gu Qingshan silently listened and muttered to herself. That's good. Then what should I do now? Just in time, a deep and dignified voice came from the glove. I am the Lord of Infinite Origins. Person of the future, I do not know who you are, but I have seen a few fragments from the endless time. One day after my death and rebirth, you shall become my trustworthy companion, willing to face danger together with me. And now, I am about to die. My corpse must not be reactivated by anyone. I have sealed it in 6 darkness scales. The ruins are filled with apocalypses and dangers. Even I cannot easily enter them. But fortunately, we have the power of time. You will travel through the history of various civilizations to find my corpse. Do not worry. I have hidden it well. Other than you, no one will know the truth. Not even my beloved Reneedle. This statement carried a hint of pride, very similar to how Boss would later become. That's right. This was what Boss had said as the Lord of Infinite Origins before the reality gate opened. With his power at the time, he would have been able to prepare a lot of things for the future in an instant. But why didn't he predict Reneedle's change? Perhaps Reneedle only changed after she went to the Dusty World? Gu Qingshan silently sighed and continued listening. The glove will take you to the 6 darkness scales to find the 6 sealing signets. Go. Only you will be able to find those sealing signets. Without the guidance of fate, even if others reached the corresponding scales, they would not be able to find them. The voice disappeared. Gu Qingshan looked at this world. Within the history of the ruins, where exactly would I find the sealing signets in this sea of people? He released his inner sight to observe this ancient technological world. His inner sight scanned through cities, mountains, rivers, farms, towns, other cities, a few thousand miles, a few 10,000 miles, hundreds of thousands of miles. His inner sight continued to scan, but he still couldn't see the end. This is quite a large world. If that's the case, it would be very hard to find. Even if Reneedle entered the ruins, she wouldn't be able to find anything. Even if she managed to find this era of the past, she wouldn't be able to find anything, because there were no clues. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and slowly understood. The guidance of fate? No wonder the wraiths desired Fei Yu's power. Gu Qingshan muttered to himself, then raised his left hand and opened it in front of himself. The sealing signets. I want to find the Lord of Infinite Origins sealing signets. He silently muttered in his mind. A black thread manifested from thin air, coiled around his arm, while the other end flew into the void of space towards one side of the city. Fateability. Longing, Boss must have seen me obtaining this power in the scenes of the future to arrange this. Gu Qingshan didn't want to wait any longer, so he used his soul points to take flight. Following the black thread's guidance, he continued to travel through the sky. Closer, even closer. Gu Qingshan could see a glorious palace. This was most likely the royal palace of an empire. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed, landed, and flew through the palace. His speed was so fast that mortals wouldn't be able to notice him at all. Finally, he entered the royal palace's collection room and found a small box in a corner. The black thread was flying toward this box. Gu Qingshan stepped forward and lightly opened the box. A gem as bright as a star silently sat inside the box. Everything went smoothly. With the Fate ability and the sealing signet glove, Gu Qingshan easily found the first sealing token. So, this is a sealing token? Gu Qingshan reached her hand out and took the gem out. Sure enough, a line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, you've obtained the first sealing token. Your glove of the sealing tokens has been activated again. Attention, please. You are about to enter the next ruined world. 5, 4, dash. All of a sudden, a woman appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. This woman's beauty had reached the pinnacle of perfection, surrounded by countless stars and immense power. Her power had far surpassed the limits of Gu Qingshan's understanding. Reneedle. She stared closely at Gu Qingshan and shouted, "Who are you? Why can you find the sealing tokens?" Seeing that she was about to attack, Gu Qingshan suddenly clasped his fist. "Greetings, sister-in-law." Reneedle's expression froze. In that split second, a final line of text appeared on the war god UI. 1. Teleport. Instantly, Gu Qingshan vanished from this world. Chapter 1494. As soon as Reneedle appeared, Gu Qingshan already sensed his death. He never thought that he would have a completely irresistible thought. Various methods flashed through his mind, but he couldn't think of any way to win against the other party. She's too strong. This woman is too strong. I can't win against her at all. That's why I called her sister-in-law. Reneedle's murderous expression froze for a split second. She probably never thought that someone would call her that. Gu Qingshan was finally able to warp away. His head spun. Clank! Gu Qingshan fell into a dense forest. His vision was covered in lush greenery. The cries of various beasts and insects could be heard. Gu Qingshan leaned against a large tree, breathing heavily. Just now, when he saw Reneedle herself, Gu Qingshan deeply felt her power. A notification quickly appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, you've now arrived at the age of savagery. This is the age of past, the second scale of the 6 scales of darkness. The savagery world is protected by the water god. Living beings rely on the power of nature to develop their civilization. Supernatural powers will be greatly enhanced here. Please be careful. Gu Qingshan's gaze swept through the forest, then fell on a spot not too far away from the forest. A white frost blade tiger was staring at him. When Gu Qingshan appeared, she scared away a herd of cowardly deer. The white frost blade tiger's hunt was interrupted. I'm sorry. I promise I didn't do it on purpose. Gu Qingshan clasped his fist. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind, trying to think of a way to deal with this. If Reneedle really chased after me, I won't be able to win. What now? Is there anyone stronger than Reneedle? If there isn't, who can help me hide from her? Gu Qingshan suddenly thought of something. I need a place where Reneedle won't be able to find me, he silently said in his mind. When he looked down, there was no black thread appearing on his left hand. That meant one thing. He couldn't hide from Reneedle no matter where he was in this world. Instead, in the depths of the sky, a bright red thread flew over and wrapped around his arm. With her fate skill, Gu Qingshan immediately understood the meaning of this string. The thread of certain death. The enemy was about to catch up. With Reneedle's abilities, she had already thoroughly explored the dark tunnel over the years. Although he had skipped an entire scale and passed through countless worlds, there was no guarantee that Reneedle would catch up to him soon. Roar! The white frost blade tiger pounced forward. Gu Qingshan sighed and lightly tapped the void of space. Against such a beast, he didn't even need to use his sword, nor did he need to use his fists. All he needed to do was to use the power of his palms mixed with the yellow spring's origin power to slap it. If someone was watching from the side, they would see Gu Qingshan lightly tapping the white frost blade tiger's head. The white frost blade tiger immediately fell to the ground, lifeless. Gu Qingshan placed his hand on the white frost blade tiger's body and activated Mystery of all beings equal. He really had no other choice. All the techniques and powers he knew so far were no match for Reneedle. Only this mystery of all beings equal came from the giant corpse from the uncivilized world, and it had already evolved once. Although Reneedle was powerful, Gu Shan could sense just how powerful she was. Among all the entities that Gu Shan had ever seen, the giant corpse was the only one whose strength couldn't be determined at all. Only the mystery of the giant corpse had a chance of deceiving Reneedle. Gu Shan turned into the white frost blade tiger, casually put the white frost blade tiger's corpse away, then hid in a bush. But if he wanted to deceive Reneedle's tracking, he couldn't just rely on guesses. Gu Shan stared at his left arm, now his left front claw, then tried to activate the Fate type ability, longing, I need a place where Reneedle won't be able to find me, Gu Shan silently said in his mind. The black thread didn't manifest on his snow-white claw, but a second later, the red thread was cut off. This bright red thread circled around him once, as if it was searching for his traces, but it was unable to find him. A breath's worth of time later, the red thread disappeared. Gu Shan sighed in relief. After I turned into the white frost blade tiger, Reneedle couldn't find me anymore. This means that the evolved mystery of all beings equal can now hide from Reneedle. Gu Shan was about to leave. The white frost blade tiger from before had been hungry for an entire day. Just as it was about to catch a few deer, I cut it off. Now that I've turned into it, I'm just as hungry. But I have to endure my hunger. The most important thing right now is to find a safe place to hide. With that in mind, the white frost blade tiger retracted all of its presence and was about to run. All of a sudden, a muscular beast slowly appeared from a bush not too far away. It was a large bear. It stared at the white frost blade tiger with drool dripping down from the corner of its mouth. It was also hungry. Before the white frost blade tiger could move, a figure descended from above. Reneedle, the woman who was covered in starlight, landed between the two beasts and looked at the scale world in front of her. Strange, the tracking divine art showed that he's completely gone. Did he teleport to the divine realm again? Reneedle muttered. She did see these two beasts, but there were countless beasts fighting, and hunting in this forest. This bear and tiger were simply too ordinary. The white frost blade tiger's eyes flickered, displaying a cautious expression as it bared its teeth and roared. As a feline, it was very cautious. But the large bear was different. The large bear looked at Reneedle, then at the white frost blade tiger, then scratched its head. It was a bit confused. The white frost blade tiger is food that can fill its stomach. But what exactly is that glowing food? With its intelligence, it couldn't tell which of the two foods in front of it was more delicious. So it fell into a brief moment of confusion. But it quickly thought through this question. The small bear's stomach was limited, so it had to make a choice. As a large bear, it wanted everything. Roar! The large bear uttered a resounding roar, then leapt towards Reneedle, who was closest to it. At this point, Reneedle had already scouted the entire world, but didn't find any traces of the cultivator. As the large bear leapt at her, she didn't even bother to look at it and simply muttered, "Animal." The large bear turned into a mist of blood in response, then abruptly retreated. The mist of blood quickly faded into nothingness. This scene was so horrifying that it seemed to have scared the white frost blade tiger to death. Roar! The white frost blade tiger uttered a shrill cry, tucked its tail under its butt, and ran away without looking back. Reneedle naturally didn't care about the life or death of a beast. When she noticed that she couldn't find Gu Shan, she took out a talisman, a blood-colored talisman. Order! Everyone from the Wraith realm and Huang Quan realm to move out, Reneedle muttered. Chapter 1495. The Wraith Realm. The Wraith Temple. The three statues were slowly coming to life. That teleportation power disappeared. Fate, obstruction, giant frame, and karmic fire stood on top of the statues, exchanging glances. Although it disappeared, this is truly strange. Why did it just happen to be the three of us? Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction asked. Wraith Lord Giant Frame replied. I don't think it's a coincidence. Should we report it? Wraith Lord Karmic Fire replied. We should, after all. This matter is very strange, and it's related to the ruins. She'll definitely be interested. Then let's report it first, then settle the matter with Fei Yu. Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction took out a blood-colored talisman and prepared to activate it. All of a sudden, a flash of flame came from the void of space, manifesting as Reneedle and appeared in front of the three Wraith Lords. Empress! The three Wraith Lords were shocked, then knelt down on one knee to greet her. Mobilize everyone to the fourth scale world number 977, Reneedle coldly ordered. Understood, the three Wraith Lords replied. Wraith Lord Giant Frame continued. Your Majesty, the war on the Eternal Abyss is currently at a stalemate. What do you think? Reneedle glanced at him and said, Wraith Lord Song, you will be in charge of the war. Fate Obstruction and Karmic Fire, you two stay here, head to the world I mentioned and prepare to act. Understood, the three Wraith Lords replied in unison. Reneedle's figure disappeared, turning into a blood-colored talisman again, and flew away. The three Wraith Lords stood up. She's gone, Wraith Lord Karmic Fire said. From the direction she's heading. She should be heading to the Huang Quan realm, Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction said. Wraith Lord Giant Frame clasped his fist towards the other two Wraith Lords. I'll leave this place to you two. I'll be heading to the space vortex to take a look at the situation, then return to the Wraith Temple to gather troops and take down the Eternal Abyss as soon as possible. Don't worry, right? I heard that the Yama Heavenly Realm that your son is in charge of seems to be in some trouble, Wraith Lord Karmic Fire said. That's right. Yama Heavenly King and Mount Meru Masvara must be watched closely, especially in the near future. His Majesty can't afford to be distracted. We can't let anything happen to them, Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction said. Ghost Lord Giant Frame didn't mind at all. Those two places have been ruled by us for too long. There won't be any big problems. My son Wu Zhang will naturally be able to deal with them. Since he spoke with such confidence, the other two Wraith Lords naturally didn't probe any further. With that, the three figures disappeared from the Ghost Temple. A white frost blade tiger dashed through the forest, looking as if it was running for its life. Occasionally, it would glance at its front paws. No one could see that there was a black thread on its front paw. Fate skill. Only with this fate ability could he find the second seal of the King of Eternal Origins. The white-skinned frost saber tiger had only run half the way when it suddenly deviated from the direction of the black thread and turned into a cave. Within a radius of several dozen miles, only this cave had its own kind, which was most likely the home of the white-skinned frost saber tiger that I killed. Reneedle was too powerful, too terrifying. Even Gu Qing-shan wasn't confident that he would be able to fool her. Right now, I can't go and find the seal right away, otherwise I'll definitely be exposed. At that time, even if I run away, Reneedle would know that I would turn into another living being. She would definitely come up with a countermeasure. Then, I won't be able to find the next seal. While thinking that, Gu Qing-shan entered the cave. As soon as he entered, two other white-skinned frost saber tigers came to greet him. Oh. Dash, one of the white-skinned frost saber tigers uttered a questioning sound. Roar, Gu Qing-shan casually replied. His stomach was rumbling with hunger, so he casually walked to a corner of the cave and lay down to rest. Just like a real white-skinned frost saber tiger. Seeing that, the other two white-skinned frost saber tigers followed him, leaned on him, and rubbed themselves against him. Gu Qing-shan was surprised. What kind of situation is this? Roar. One of the white-skinned frost saber tigers softly roared, but it carried a different meaning. Oh, the other white-skinned frost saber tiger also roared, as if begging for something. Gu Qing-shan slowly sat up, crouched on the ground, a bit confused. As a white-skinned frost saber tiger, he naturally understood what it meant. These two white-skinned frost saber tigers are female. They're threatening me that if I can't find something to eat, they'll leave tomorrow. And don't even think about having cubs with them. Roar! Gu Qing-shan roared. While roaring at the two female tigers, he swung his tail and pointed at the cave entrance. The two white-skinned frost saber tigers froze. They didn't expect this male tiger to react like this. The atmosphere froze. Gu Qingshan's tiger eyes showed a fierce glint as he glared at the two tigers. The two white-skinned frost saber tigers took a step back. Although they were also white-skinned frost saber tigers, they were still a bit weaker compared to this male tiger. Not to mention, while the male tiger's roar just now was about the same as before, there was an indescribable pressure that shook their minds. When did this male tiger become so imposing? Gu Qingshan couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the two tigresses, changed his direction, walked deeper into the cave, and crouched down again. He propped his paws on the ground, used the tiger's head as a pillow, and closed his eyes. His attitude was very clear. I'm already starving. What else do you want? I'm not going to find you anything to eat. Let's go. Seeing the male tiger close his eyes and begin to rest, the two tigresses were still a bit stunned. A few moments later, they exchanged glances, then silently left the cave. Gu Qingshan opened his eyes a bit, then closed them again. Don't be ridiculous. Reneedle is right here in the forest. How could I possibly expose myself in any way? Now that these two tigresses have left, I don't have to work so hard to act like a male tiger, communicating and reacting like a tiger. All I need to do is lie down like a corpse. Gu Qingshan silently lay down for a while. He abruptly opened his eyes. A lot of wraiths had appeared outside. More and more cultivators were appearing, all of them kneeling in front of Reneedle, obeying his orders. Soon enough, they all scattered and flew to different parts of this world. They seem to be searching for something. I can't expose myself, and I can't immediately search for the seal. This is going to be troublesome. Gu Qingshan's eyes flickered, silently thinking of a solution. As a white frost blade tiger, the only thing I could do right now is to hide. What should I do next? All of a sudden, Reneedle's voice resounded across the entire world. Be careful. If that thing is in this world, any damage it causes to this world might cause that thing to be completely destroyed. Furthermore, send some people with me to the 75 worlds around here to search. The wraiths all responded in a resounding voice. Understood. Reneedle's presence disappeared from this world. After using various investigative techniques, she was certain that that person had already left this world. And now, she was preparing to search the surrounding worlds. Gu Qingshan silently listened, changed his posture, and continued to lie down like a corpse. Staying stuck in this cave like this isn't a solution. What should I do now? While he was thinking, his ears twitched. Two figures entered the cave. It was the two tigresses from before. The tigress on the left was holding a rabbit in her mouth. The tigress on the right was even more impressive, as she was dragging a deer with her. Her prey was already dead. Gu Qingshan slowly stood up and roared in a low voice. Roar. The two tigresses held their prey in their mouths, unable to make a sound, but they placed the prey in front of Gu Qingshan. They both looked at Gu Qingshan and uttered a gentle and intimate roar. Oh, don't be angry. Oh, I'll take care of you. That was what they meant. Gu Qingshan looked at the rabbit and deer. The rabbit was a gray rabbit, very fat. The deer was a young deer, very fresh and tender. Chapter 1496. Inside the cave. Gu Qingshan looked at the rabbit and deer, then at the two tigresses, not knowing what to do. Roar, eat, roar, roar. Don't starve, you need to replenish your stamina. The two tigresses spoke at once. As Gu Qingshan met their gazes, he was speechless. Indeed, wild rabbits can be used to make braised rabbit meat, stewed rabbit meat, roasted rabbit meat, braised rabbit meat, spicy rabbit meat, rabbit radish stew, ginger and scallion spicy rabbit meat, fragrant rabbit leg. Rabbit head can also be used in other ways, while the deer has even more ways to prepare it. It's a male deer after all. But now isn't the time to think about that. What I should be thinking about is how to hide from the wraiths outside and take out the second sealing token. While I was thinking, the two tigresses returned. Another figure appeared at the cave entrance. Roar! The two tigresses cautiously roared. A sturdy male, white-skinned frost blade tiger slowly strolled in. He was taller, more muscular, and more ferocious than Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan naturally put on a cautious expression. shielded the two tigresses and their food behind him, and growled threateningly. The male tiger's gaze moved around, taking a good look at the situation inside the cave. This place isn't bad. The cave is quite spacious. There are two tigresses and food. As long as I chase that annoying fellow away, this place will be mine. The male tiger's gaze fell onto Gu Qingshan, opened his mouth, and roared. Gu Qingshan didn't roar. He felt that the scene in front of him was telling him what he had overlooked. Gu Qingshan stared at the male tiger. How did this guy get here? Did he follow the two tigresses and slowly find me? The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. A thought flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind. Wait a minute. I've been relying too much on inner sight, but I've forgotten just how powerful my opponents are. Reneedle's presence has disappeared, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's already left this place. If she really wanted to leave, she only needed to order a few people to bring a large number of people with her. But she shouted like this to the whole world, as if she was afraid that no one could hear her. This was a plan to mislead him. If he was not wrong, she should be hiding in the dark, quietly accumulating her strength, waiting for the moment when the seal would be unearthed. This time, she would not be stunned. She would definitely go all out to take down the enemy. A thin layer of cold sweat appeared on Gu Qingshan's back. When the ferocious tiger saw his dazed appearance, it no longer hesitated and pounced forward. Gu Qingshan and the tiger were locked in combat. It didn't matter to him. He pretended to be fighting normally, and, at the same time, he was thinking of a way to deal with it. The entire world was completely surrounded by wraiths. Reneedle hid in the dark. How should they break out of this situation? If I were her, this is bad. That ferocious tiger suddenly jumped up and landed on Gu Qingshan's back. It opened its mouth and started biting randomly. While Gu Qingshan was thinking about something, he couldn't help but feel annoyed, so he shook the male tiger off his back and bit it a few times. Feeling the pain, the male tiger jumped up and ran towards the cave entrance in a panic. I miscalculated. This opponent is too ruthless. No matter how I attacked, he only appeared stunned, as if he didn't care about being bitten at all. The male tiger quickly ran out of the cave. Gu Qingshan crouched down and licked the wound on his paw. Seeing how imposing he was, the two female tigers carefully crouched down next to him, their gazes full of respect and intimacy. Gu Qingshan didn't have the mind to care about them, so while he was licking his wound, he activated the Fate ability, longing. Hurry, Fei Yu, contact me, he silently said in his mind. A black thread silently appeared, coiled around the white frost blade tiger's paw, and quickly extended into the void of space. Gu Qingshan anxiously waited. Right now, Reneedle was hiding in the world, silently waiting for the sealing tokens to appear. But that didn't mean that she was a patient person. If the sealing tokens don't appear, she would definitely look for Fei Yu. Because Fei Yu had grown up since she was an infant, Fei Yu's fate ability had matured. Only Fei Yu's fate ability would be able to find the sealing tokens. Reneedle would definitely force Fei Yu to immediately get married and steal her fate ability. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan shouted again. Fei Yu, the situation is dire. Contact me. The black thread on her snow-white paw stabbed into the void of space. A part of it disappeared. A split second later, another black thread descended from above, connecting with Gu Qingshan's thread. A doubtful voice came. Gu Qingshan, why are you looking for me in such a hurry? Fei Yu. Gu Qingshan silently sighed in relief. What's the situation on your side? He asked. Just now, the three Wraith Lords came to force the marriage, but something happened and they turned back, Fei Yu replied. Gu Qingshan silently thought. The Wraith Realm had mobilized a large number of people to search for the sealing tokens. Fei Yu, do you have any way to create a two-way warp formation between your side and mine? Gu Qingshan asked. After I told you last time, I've already gathered everyone's power using the fate threads to quickly construct a two-way warp formation. The only problem is that the causality law barrier only allows entry, but not exit, Fei Yu replied. Only allows entry, not exit? Don't worry about the exit. Just send me over right now. Gu Qingshan said. Fei Yu sharply asked, "What happened?" "There's no time to explain. Hurry. Send me over," Gu Qingshan said. Fei Yu knew that Gu Qingshan wouldn't lie about something like this, so she immediately said, "Wait a moment. I need the venerable blind nun to cooperate with me." Gu Qingshan asked, "How long?" Fei Yu replied, 10 minutes. Gu Qingshan hurriedly said, "That's too slow. Just send me over to your side first. We'll talk about the reverse warp later." Fei Yu's heart sank, then said, "Maintain your fate technique. We'll bring you over in 5 breaths worth of time." "Got it," Gu Qingshan replied. He was temporarily reassured. 5 breaths worth of time is more than enough to deal with the matter at hand. Gu Qingshan looked at the 2 female, white, frost blade tigers. The 2 tigers lowered their heads obediently in front of him and let out soft whimpering sounds, as if they were trying to please him. Gu Qingshan reached her paw out and tapped the foreheads of the 2 female tigers. The 2 tigers froze in place. In their minds, a lot of knowledge that they've never heard of before appeared. From a knowledge inherited from the infinite worlds of the past, there were a few Yao cultivation techniques that were suitable for these 2 tigers. If they hunt for me, I'll give them cultivation techniques in return. This place is also under the protection of Water God, so it'll be easy for them to cultivate. After doing all that, Gu Qingshan put the wild rabbit and deer into her inventory bag. This is wild game from its original state. After I've processed it, it'll definitely be delicious. After this war is over, these will all be delicious food for me to enjoy. A second later, the black thread on Gu Qingshan's paw abruptly became thicker. Runes began to circulate on it. A screen of light flashed. He disappeared. It wasn't until a long while after he left that the 2 female tigers slowly regained their senses. Seeing that their imposing boyfriend was gone, they crouched down and uttered a low whimper. The outer layer of the Wraith Realm. A tiger quickly teleported here from afar, then quickly returned to human form. Gu Qingshan. He took out the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword and held it in front of himself. A few moments later, the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword seemed to have run into something and directly cut open a gap. Gu Qingshan then disappeared. After he entered the Wraith Realm, the gap closed up. The palace. Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared. Everyone was here. What exactly happened? Buttercup asked. As Gu Qingshan was about to answer, a female voice resounded from outside the palace. "Men, open all causality barriers. Fei Yu, I'm going inside to tell you something." Everyone was surprised, then quickly drew their weapons. Fei Yu spoke with a heavy tone. "It's finally time for a decisive battle to the death, don't?" Gu Qingshan hurriedly explained. "This is the Grand Empress of the Pantheon. None of us can go against her. The causality barriers were actually only set up by her subordinates before anyone could react." Gu Qingshan had already turned herself into a fiend and hid in the crowd, then said, "Fei Yu, promise her that you'll stall for time." "Crow, how exactly are you disguising as Fei Yu right now? There's no need to disguise yourself as a man. She'll definitely see through it." Everyone here was a combatant of the void who had gone through many trials and tribulations in their lives. So as soon as Gu Qingshan spoke, they understood the severity of the situation. Everyone sheathed their weapons and suppressed their murderous aura. Fei Yu loudly asked, "Who's outside? Why did you come to see me without even telling me your name?" Crow quickly explained to Gu Qingshan, "I'm not disguising myself as a man. This is a fate ability of Fei Yu's. It allows me to temporarily inherit her fate. This way, everyone will think that I'm her fate ability. Who can guarantee that Reneedle wouldn't be able to see through a fate ability?" Gu Qingshan suddenly had a thought. How about this? Perhaps Reneedle wouldn't be able to see through a fate ability. If that's true, then that would be great. Crow suddenly spoke up and continued. "If that woman is the legendary Grand Empress of the Pantheon, my fate ability wouldn't be able to fool her." Gu Qingshan's expression changed. Crow's ability had been activated. Crow also noticed the situation and hurriedly added, "But I still have a way to disturb her." As soon as he said so, the light outside the palace completely disappeared. A woman covered in starlight walked out from the void of space. Reneedle appeared in front of everyone. Everyone couldn't help but take a step back. This feeling, it's simply the ominous demon tower's master muttered in a daze. It was an overwhelming power that caused everyone to feel despair. Just by looking at this woman, they could sense that her power was completely insurmountable, unable to muster the will to fight against her. Renedal didn't look at Crow and stared straight at Feiyu. I don't have the time to play tricks right now. Feiyu, you must serve me or immediately get married. No one said anything, still deeply shocked by the other party's power. Feiyu smiled bitterly and shook her head. So, I've always wanted to fight against an entity like you. She appeared a bit dejected. This attitude made Renedal smile a bit more. I was very busy, and you were still very young before, so I didn't have the time to care about you, but it's different now. Feiyu, I need you, Renedal casually said. Chapter 1497. World Apocalypse Online. We'll be repairing computers in the morning. Please don't wait. Currently typing. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1498. Renedal muttered, Feiyu, I order you to serve me right now, or marry the Wraith Lord right now. Feiyu was speechless. Everyone was speechless. Who would dare to refuse the Grand Empress? But Feiyu had already given the Fate ability to Gu Qingshan, so she couldn't help the Grand Empress no matter what. And she didn't want to help either. You forced my mother to her death, and now you want me to serve you? Feiyu questioned. Although her expression was calm, her body couldn't help but tremble. Renedal noticed and smiled. No, the one who truly forced your mother to her death was your father. He was driven by benefits, wanting to exchange you for some valuable authority. At this point, Renedal casually made a gesture. A figure descended from above, landing in front of everyone. Hong Iju, this former city lord of Void City, as well as Feiyu's father, was restrained by an invisible force in midair, unable to move at all. He fearfully looked at Renedal. At this point, everyone finally understood why Hong Iju acted the way he did back at Void City. It turns out that there was an unparalleled Grand Empress behind him. Renedal's expression didn't change and told Feiyu, if you hate him to the bone, I'll help you kill him right now to vent your hatred. Feiyu didn't say anything. Hong Iju desperately shouted, Your Majesty, I've always been loyal to you, conquering countless worlds for you. Please have mercy. Renedal didn't even look at him and coldly said, Feiyu, I can even let you manage the Wraith Realm. You can kill all the Wraiths who disrespect you as long as you immediately serve me. Feiyu appeared confused and said, Actually, there's something I don't understand right now. What? Renedal asked. You're so strong. You must have countless ways to completely deprive me of my power. Feiyu said. She really couldn't figure it out. After a bit of hesitation, Renedal decided to tell him. There's no harm in telling you. Right before your mother died, she used a very troublesome fate ability. Other than you, no one else would be able to force you to use that ability. Feiyu nodded. She knew this, but she didn't know that even Renedal was wary of this power of fate. Renedal continued. Even if you take the initiative to lend it to someone else, the person who used the fate skill Nostalgia will definitely have a child with you in the future. This is fate's arrangement. I must respect fate. What? Feiyu's jaw dropped. She was so shocked that her soul almost left her body. Everyone was surprised. However, this was not a big deal. Everyone was just a little surprised. In truth, no one knew that Feiyu had already given the fate ability called Nostalgia to Gu Qingshan. Everyone thought that Feiyu had only given Gu Qingshan a fate ability for communication. The ones who were truly shocked were Feiyu and Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan's mind was in chaos. Feiyu didn't turn around and instead sent her voice to everyone else. Just now, she said that we can't go against fate. This proves that she's also a fate type. Otherwise, she wouldn't understand the consequences of fate better than I do. She sent her voice to Gu Qingshan alone. Don't worry about the child. I didn't know about it before this, and we're about to die at her hands. Gu Qingshan replied with her HM. He quickly adjusted his mentality. There's no time to worry about the future right now. I need to think of a way to escape from Reneedle. Fate-type professionists were the rarest, as well as the most terrifying. But what is Reneedle's fate ability? Guqing Shan quickly thought about it and sent her voice. Crow, what is it? Crow asked. Guqing Shan replied, just now, when you activated the fortune averting calamity technique, you added one last sentence, Crow replied. That's right, I said I still have a way to disturb her, so I'm currently thinking about how to do it. Guqing Shan encouraged her. Do your best. You've been married so many times, you must understand women very well. Don't try to understand women, Crow advised her. Then said, doubtfully, but this woman is too strong. I don't even know what she's been through, so I really don't know where to start. What did Reneedle go through? Guqing Shan thought and replied, for the sake of power, or something else, she killed her lover, then continued to eliminate all potential threats. That's all I know. Killed her husband? What a woman with no sense of security. I can't marry such a woman, Crow commented. Guqing Shan was speechless and urged, quickly think of something. At this point, Reneedle spoke up again. Fei Yu, tell me your answer. Fei Yu barely managed to maintain her composure, but her emerald eyes displayed the last bit of determination. I refuse to serve you, she declared. Hearing Fei Yu's answer, Reneedle's expression turned frigid. Boundless power surged from her body, covering the sky and covering the earth as it surged towards everyone. Everyone stood still, as if they were standing in the middle of a raging tidal wave, unable to control themselves at all. Reneedle coldly scoffed, then said, I'll arrange for you to marry Wraith Lord Karmic Fire right now. Do not attempt to resist, otherwise I'll kill every single one of your friends, then torture you in the cruelest way possible. Fei Yu's expression became paler and paler. Everyone also fell into despair. There was no way to fight back. However, someone suddenly shouted, Wait! Everyone turned to look, only to see that it was Crow who was disguised as Fei Yu. At this point, he was still dressed as a woman. Reneedle stared straight at him with killing intent in her eyes. Do you have a problem with that? Crow angrily replied, My young lady hates those stinky men the most. They're all weaklings who surround my young lady like flies every day. You're also a woman. Why must a woman force another woman? Why must my young lady marry someone she doesn't like? Guqing Shan silently praised. If Reneedle truly loved Boss, why would she kill him and abandon him? Crow had successfully found a crucial point. Reneedle was surprised. She seemed to have thought of something as her killing intent lessened a bit and didn't attack. Guqing Shan immediately sent her voice to Fei Yu. Fei Yu's expression flickered, then told Reneedle, It's not impossible for me to marry someone, but you have to at least find someone I like. Are you really going to throw me to that karmic flames of resentment? He loves torturing and killing the most. I'd rather die than marry him. Reneedle looked at Fei Yu, seemingly thinking of something as her expression became a bit complicated. This matter. She slowly spoke, then suddenly became resolute. It's not up to you. For some reason, after saying that, Reneedle shook her head, then abruptly turned around and left. When she reached the entrance of the palace, she stopped and said, Fei Yu, I'll give you one last minute to make a decision. I hope you can grasp your own fate well. After saying so, the layers of causality barriers closed up and completely enveloped the palace. Reneedle's figure disappeared from the outside. As soon as she left, everyone began to move. 1 minute, hurry. Immediately construct the reverse warp formation. We're leaving. It should take about 10 minutes. Do everything you can. Shorten the time. Fei Yu released a black thread. The blind nun and the ominous demon tower's master acted at the same time, surrounding the thread to construct a reverse warp formation. Guqing Shan fell into thought. Crow's words seemed to have touched Reneedle. How strange. What exactly did she go through? Are you curious about how I did it? Crow asked in a low voice. That's right. What exactly was she thinking? Guqing Shan asked. I don't know either. There was once a woman who married me in order to absorb all of my abilities. She believed that women were the most perfect creatures and that all men should die, Crow replied. It's fortunate that you noticed in time, Guqing Shan commented. According to what you said, as well as my instincts, I felt that the Grand Empress of the Pantheon seemed to be extremely heartless towards men, but still gave Fei Yu a choice, so she purposely said that Crow said. Everyone turned to look at him. Buttercup sighed. Only someone like you who has been married 99 times will be able to think of such a method that won't work after using it. We need to hurry, Crow shrugged. A few moments later, Fei Yu and the blind nun's voices resounded at the same time. It's done. Fei Yu said, Hurry, the warp formation has been completed. We need to leave now. We'll talk about it later. The ominous Demon Tower's master said, With so many of us here, the warp formation will definitely create continuous fluctuations. Does anyone have a portable space vessel? It would be best for everyone to stay inside the vessel and be brought over by one person. I do. Gu Qing took out the Songhai heavenly airship. Xiao Sung. Bring them into Kunlun world. Got it, Xiao Sung replied. Rays of light flew out from the heavenly airship and swept everyone away. The only one left in the palace was the one maintaining the formation, Fei Yu. And Gu Qing. Their gazes met. I'll leave it to you, Fei Yu casually said. Got it. Gu Qing put her hand forward. A black thread coiled around his arm, the other end of which was connected to Fei Yu's thread. Fei Yu was also enveloped by the light and disappeared. Gu Qing held the Songhai heavenly airship in one hand, while the other lightly touched the formation on the black thread. The formation gave off a blinding light. The warp had begun. Gu Qing felt the world spinning around him as he disappeared from where he stood. Chapter 1499. The Wraith Realm. The Palace. After everyone was teleported away, 1 minute passed. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. The several dozen layers of causality barriers outside the palace opened up again, revealing Reneedle covered in starlight. Fei Yu, tell me who? Reneedle's voice stopped. Her beautiful expression was suddenly filled with ferocious intent. Very well. I gave you time to choose, and you dared to run away? Reneedle coldly smirked. A powerful gust of wind exuded from her body, sweeping through the surroundings. The entire palace was reduced to dust. Reneedle stood on the empty ground, muttering in a low voice. To be able to break through the causality barrier. Who exactly was it? She abruptly vanished. Let's rewind time a bit. At another location, the light of teleportation faded. Gu Qing appeared in Water God's world. The two tigresses were nowhere to be seen in the cave, most likely searching for something. Are we going to hide in this world right now? Fei Yu's voice resounded from the Songhai heavenly ship. Gu Qing replied, No, we have to leave right away. Reneedle will soon arrive in this world. Reneedle appeared when he removed the first seal. So he decided not to remove the second seal for now. The most important thing right now is to stay alive. Buttercup's voice resounded. There are no causality barriers here. If we want to leave, we can leave right away. The question is, where do we go? Gu Qing replied. Anywhere. Reneedle will soon arrive. Let's leave this place first before deciding what to do, Fei Yu exclaimed in shock. She knows this place? Blind big sis, your teleportation is the strongest. Please take us away right away. Got it, the blind nun replied. A second later, Gu Qing felt the fluctuation of teleportation around him. His entire body entered the void of space, slowly flying away. Not too long later, the void of space was filled with darkness. Gu Qing felt himself losing speed. He was like a drowning man deep in the sea, unable to move at all. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared in front of Gu Qing. You've entered the teleportation state. The moment you left this world, you left this state and were captured by another special power. Take note, you are the only individual that has been plucked out of time and space by some sort of power. Gu Qing's heart sank. Reneedle is here? She said that she would ask Fei Yu about her decision in 15 minutes. After all, the causality law barrier was so powerful, and everyone had been imprisoned for several days without being able to break free. She was also so powerful, so she should be able to rest assured and wait. It wasn't time yet, so she probably hadn't noticed that everyone had already left. Moreover, A powerhouse of the blind, nuns level shouldn't make such a low-level mistake in the construction of the teleportation portal. But what was going on? Gongzi, something doesn't seem right, Shanna's voice came. Gu Qing Shan muses. It shouldn't be Renedal. Otherwise she would have appeared already. Let's just wait and see. The darkness around him slowly faded. Light shone, ripples of light. Gu Qing Shan felt himself standing in flowing water. A line of glowing text appeared in front of him. Frowny face. The first sealing token you've obtained has been automatically activated. It seems to have a unique mission. Attention, there will be a message. Sure enough, a voice resounded in Gu Qing Shan's ears. Frowny face, you've come to the second sealing site, but haven't taken the sealing token yet. You must have run into some trouble. It was Boss's voice. Gu Qing Shan replied, Indeed, Renedal is keeping a close eye on me. If I go to take the second sealing token, I'll be pointing her to my location, and I'll be captured as well, Boss continued. I've already foreseen such a possibility, so you must take another path to avoid her. What path? Gu Qing Shan asked. The path inside the seal. After saying so, Boss's voice didn't come again. Gu Qing Shan stood still, only to find a card in his hand with a single line of text. You are now my best friend. I will use your fake name to call you Road. My first name is Shroud. A second later, the card scattered into sand and disappeared without a trace. Gu Qing Shan suddenly found himself turning into a 7 to 8-year-old child. Following that, an old voice suddenly resounded in his ears. Frowny face, you've done your best. But it's too late. She's already dead. His vision flickered. An unfamiliar world appeared around him. Sunlight, a forest, a river. A group of people gathered around the riverbank. A small, wet body that appeared to be 7 to 8 years old was lying on the ground, completely lifeless. It was a girl. The one who spoke just now was a withered old man with white hair, holding a scepter decorated with white bones in his hand. Gu Qing Shan observed them for a bit and quickly understood their current situation. These people tried to save the girl from the water, but she was already dead. Elder, is there really no hope? A young and tender voice said. Gu Qing Shan followed the voice, only to see that the one who spoke was also a 7 to 8-year-old child. His skin was tanned, but his eyes were abnormally bright and full of vitality. The elder sighed and stroked the boy's head. Shroud, you were very brave when you saved her, but not everyone can escape from the swamp of death. The boy went silent briefly, then turned to look at Gu Qing Shan. Road, are we really unable to save her? Shroud asked. Gu Qing Shan looked down at the girl's body. Her heart had stopped beating for too long. We really can't save her. Gu Qing Shan nodded and said, Shroud, the elder is right. The people around her also spoke up. This girl is very unfamiliar. She's not someone from our valley. That's right, from the brand on her arm. She was most likely a slave from somewhere who escaped on her own, then fell into the water and drowned. Since the river has sent her body to us, let's bury her. Perhaps someone will come to claim her body. That's true. Shroud walked forward, crouched down, and carefully observed the girl's body. Although the girl was dead, her expression carried a sense of peace and relief, as if she didn't resist her final fate. After observing for a while, Shroud suddenly smiled. What is it? Gu Qing Shan asked. Road, I've seen countless living beings die, but this is the first time I've seen someone die so peacefully. Shroud paused briefly, then continued. She's worth saving. Saying so, the boy reached his hand out and lightly tapped the void of space. Bam! A green-clothed pixie the size of a thumb appeared. Shroud, did you come and play with us today? The pixie happily asked. No, I wanted to ask you to help me save someone, Shroud replied. This girl? Ah, she's already dead. It'll be very troublesome to save her, the pixie scowled and said. It's fine, I know your rules. I'll pay, Shroud replied. He turned to Gu Qing Shan and reached his hand out. Gu Qing Shan searched his body. Sure enough, there was a bag of money. He gave the bag to Shroud. Road, I'm sorry, but we'll probably have to use up all of our treasures, Shroud said apologetically. It's fine, Gu Qing Shan replied. Now that everything had just begun, I feel like I've returned to the time when Boss was young. He was prepared to continue observing to obtain more information. You want to know what boss's intentions were in bringing him into this memory. Hearing him say that, Shroud turned around and shook the bag upside down. The colorful gems all fell to the ground. The pixie exclaimed in shock, "Whoa, so many rare gems. This one is only found at the top of a snowy mountain. This one is from the depths of lava. And this one." The pixie suddenly became spirited and quickly put all of the gems away. After doing that, he solemnly took out a blank certificate and placed it on top of the girl's body. "This is a pixie certificate of reincarnation. It's extremely precious. If her name appears on it, it means that she can use the pixie technique to reincarnate and revive," the pixie explained. "What if her name doesn't appear?" Gu Shan asked. The pixie sighed. "Then us pixie won't be able to save her. I can only return the gems to you." Everyone waited for a while, only to see a few words slowly appear on the blank certificate. Renedal. Chapter 1500. Road. "Did you see the Pixie Kingdom?" someone asked. "Me? I didn't," Gu Shan replied. "Ah, Road is a swindler. He's joking with us again," Shroud laughed out loud. Everyone laughed. Even the elder jokingly scolded, "Road, hand over the Pixie Kingdom this time." Gu Shan wasn't so sure. "I only found a bag of money just now. Do I have something else?" After searching through the tattered bag, Gu Shan finally found something. He took out a small, wrinkled white flower. "The Pixie Kingdom." The elder received the flower and muttered in a low voice, "Witness new life." The nearly withered white flower flew up from his hand, spun in the air, and quickly turned into the sky. Everything on the ground changed. Lush green grass, countless flowers, houses of various colors. The pixies appeared. They chased each other, played with each other, and were having a lot of fun. As soon as the group appeared, the pixies noticed them. "Ah, it's those idiots from the World Valley." "That's right, it's those rare idiots." "What are you doing here?" the pixies asked. Shroud replied, "Greetings, everyone. Our certificate has come into effect. Please help us save a person." The pixies gathered around, looked at the girl on the ground, then at the name on the certificate. Renedal, one of the pixies muttered. A cluster of white light suddenly appeared from its body, which turned into a thick fragrance that drifted in all directions. "This is a name favored by fate," another pixie exclaimed. The pixies all became serious. They descended and surrounded the girl. A fairy with a crown on her head cleared her throat and asked, "Who wants to save this girl?" "It's me," Shroud replied. "So, it's Shroud." The pixie adjusted his crown to make it more upright, then asked, "Why do you want to save her?" "There's no reason. I just want to save her to the end," Shroud replied. The fae wearing the crown said, "Ah, foolish young man of the Jie clan, since you've paid enough gems, let's take a look and see which one will descend here today." He took out a golden apple, placed it in the girl's hand, and muttered, "Endless beasts of law, today is the day of worship for us pixies. I wonder which overlord of law is willing to come forth and devour this body that possesses the karma of undying, guiding it toward the dawn of new life." All the pixies fell silent. The world was silent. The scene was so sacred that even the naughtiest fairy held her breath. Gu Shan saw with her own eyes that a fairy couldn't help but want to sneeze. But in order to avoid making an undignified sound, the fairy gritted her teeth, took out a sledgehammer that was as tall as her, and hammered herself unconscious. In the silence, something seemed to have come. The girl's body floated up and was swallowed by the flaming teeth. At this moment, the owner of the huge mouth did not appear. A single vertical eye with black stripes appeared in the sky, closely observing the ritual below. The entity swallowed the girl, then spoke to the pixies with a resounding voice. "I will take her body, leaving her soul with no place to drift, only able to return to your world and accept a new fate." Mist began to boil. This mist condensed into a girl with 8 arms. From a void of space, the voice continued. "Your new life shall be filled with 8 different kinds of power, where you may discard these powers in order to achieve the one thing that you have always dreamed of." The girl had her eyes closed, then asked, "I'm saved?" The entity repeated, "Indeed, you shall be filled with 8 different kinds of power, where you may live as you wish. You may now choose." The girl's eyes were still closed, seemingly thinking of something as she lightly scowled, then raised her voice. I want to win against fate. I want to eliminate all sinful deeds. As soon as she said so, the 8 arms on the girl's back were completely incinerated. The ashes scattered in the void of space drifted with the wind, then turned into a pair of pure black wings that landed on her back. In the sky, the vertical eye with black stripes looked down at the girl and spoke in a profound tone. Reneedle, you shall be given a pair of wings, one for you to overcome all obstacles and triumph over all your enemies. The other for you to absorb power and become the companion of the strongest. The stars are the manifestation of fate. They shall adorn your wings and guide your way from the void of space. Countless stars descended from above, falling onto her wings and giving off a beautiful glow. The scene was so beautiful, so divine that it caused everyone to feel shocked. Watching this, the crocodile's body slowly faded away. All the supernatural phenomena disappeared. The girl opened her eyes and looked around. She saw countless pixies, as well as Shroud and the others. She walked straight up to Shroud, knelt down on one knee, and said, I can feel it. It was you who saved me. Shroud helped her up and grinned. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Their gazes met. Shroud's gaze was warm and cheerful. Shroud's cheerful smile was reflected in the girl's pair of eyes that were as deep as water. Win against fate. Eliminate all sinful deeds. This isn't a joke. Do you really think that way? Shroud asked. I do, the girl replied. Shroud stared closely at the pair of wings covered in stars on her back and muttered, How wonderful! From today onwards, there will be a new profession in this world. You saved me. Please bestow a name on my profession. The girl lowered her head and said. Shroud thought briefly, then smiled. Then we'll call it Angel of Condemnation. Yes, the girl replied. Reneedle, stay behind. Under Shroud's care, she obtained a cave that was right next to Shroud and Gu Qingshan's cave. By the time he finished arranging the cave for her, it was already dark. Everyone else had already left. Shroud and Gu Qingshan were also about to leave. Shroud finally reminded her. Reneedle, this place is the World Valley. If you aren't strong enough, you will never be able to leave this place. So from tomorrow onwards, you will follow us and listen to the elders' teachings on how to become stronger. Understood, Reneedle replied. Shroud nodded, then pulled Gu Qingshan out of the cave. The two of them headed back together. Gu Qingshan didn't have the time to ask about this world, and instead asked in a low voice, Shroud, why did you save her at the time? Shroud asked in return, What if you were me? Gu Qingshan sighed. She was saved, but that rescue resulted in the death of countless deities in the future. But that's all in the future. Who can foresee the future? The Earth Creator could, but still died in the end. Lady Fusey could as well, but still struggled for the sake of the future. Today, Boss saved Reneedle, but countless years later, he was killed by her. Fate is truly a paradoxical thing. Shroud, have you already fallen in love with that girl? Gu Qingshan asked. Shroud didn't expect him to ask this, so he sincerely replied, That's the adult's business. In truth, from what I've observed, I feel that among the adults, the men prefer to play with other men. Women aren't much, Gu Qingshan replied. Playing is playing, but women are a different matter, Shroud asked. What is it? Love. You're still young. You'll understand it when you grow up, Gu Qingshan replied. Road, do you actually understand this matter? Shroud's eyes were filled with desire. Of course I do. Unlike you in the future. Halfway through her words, Gu Qingshan stopped talking. Shroud suddenly scoffed. You swindler. Why do you say I'm a swindler? Gu Qingshan curiously asked. Shroud replied, I just used my detect skill and found that although you weren't lying, you only thought you understood. Is that so? Gu Qingshan asked in surprise. That's right, Shroud replied. I don't believe you. Gu Qingshan refuted him. It's true. The skill won't lie. You don't understand anything about love. Road, Shroud told him sincerely. It's fine, Road. You're only 8 years old. It's still too early for love. Thank you. Chapter 1501. A figure moved through the empty space like flowing water, manifesting into 7 figures. Shroud held his breath as he observed, then shouted, "Found you!" He casually threw a ball of frost from the void of space. As soon as the ball of frost left his hand, it turned into a crystalline halberd of frost that shot towards one of the figures with a sound. Clang! The other figures all disappeared, leaving only the figure that blocked the halberd of frost. The 8-year-old Gu Shan. "How did you know I was here?" Gu Shan asked in surprise. This was the Hitman Guild's movement secret technique, flowing shadow steps, but Shroud was able to see through it at a glance. Shroud laughed. "Your feet are standing on the world, so of course I will be able to sense which one is the real you." While saying so, he had already leapt forward with a flaming dagger in his hand. Gu Shan wielded the standard-issue sword that was given to her in the valley, blocked his attack, then activated her secret art, Cutting Edge. Gu Shan unleashed 3 strikes in a row, each strike more ferocious than the last, striking Shroud's dagger in quick succession. 1 strike repelled him. 2 strikes repelled him. The 3rd strike struck him from above. Shroud landed on the ground and used his flaming dagger to block Gu Shan's 3rd strike. With a resounding dong, both of them took a step back. They were evenly matched. This time, Gu Shan was quite surprised. Shroud was able to block my secret art. Although I didn't use my full strength, Shroud is only 8 years old. How interesting, for your sword to be able to unleash 3 different levels of power in a row. It seems you've spent quite a bit of effort, Shroud pondered. But you managed to block it, Gu Shan replied. Shroud chuckled, then replied, "That's because I borrowed the power of the world. When you attacked, both the world and I were blocking you." He raised his hand and pressed forward from afar. Gu Shan felt a sense of danger, so she swung her sword to form a series of afterimages. Clang, 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 clang. Countless blades of frost and snow condensed in the air, and under the power of the wind, they burst forth with dazzling attacks. In a breath's time, Gu Shan swung her sword 700 times before she managed to block the attack. Shroud replied, "This is the power of water and wind. I'm merely guiding them. While the entire world's earth, water, fire, and wind have all converged on my body, you're fighting against the entire world." Gu Shan shook her head and said, "Magic can't be that strong." "What kind of spell is this?" "A world technique," Shroud smiled. Gu Shan was startled. Shroud told him sincerely, "Road, you really should listen more during the Elder's lectures. If you can grasp the fundamentals of world techniques, it would be easier for you to leave this valley in the future." I understand," Gu Shan replied. "This place teaches world techniques?" Just how powerful was a world technique? Boss had brought him to this era, saying that there was another way to get the ceiling stamp. Now, it seemed that he could learn something new from this era. A figure walked in from outside the field. "Reneedle, it's time for class." She looked at the two of them, her gaze finally stopping at Shroud. "Let's go." Shroud patted Gu Shan's shoulder and said. In the blink of an eye, the entire class was over. Everyone returned to the field, trying out what they learned during the class. Gu Shan tried a few times, but still couldn't find the right feeling. "It's fine, keep trying." The elder stroked Gu Shan's head and consoled her. Gu Shan turned to the field, only to see Shroud silently hovering in the air with his eyes closed. For different lights were exuding from his body, as if they were alive, constantly expanding and contracting. "Shroud's talents are too shocking," Gu Shan exclaimed. "That's right. He's a member of the realm race, born with the ability to communicate with the world. In the future, he'll become the strongest among all of you." "That's fine as well. The girl he saved will also become stronger," the elder said. Gu Shan's gaze moved a bit, only to see Reneedle standing not too far away from Shroud, holding a book in her hand. She casually chanted an incantation to unleash the power of various spells. "This is the feeling of wielding my own power," Reneedle muttered. Gu Shan pulled her gaze back. "Elder, is it really hard for normal humans like us to communicate with the world?" Gu Shan asked. "That depends on how deep your understanding of the world is. If you understand the world will naturally embrace you. But Shroud's talents are 1 in a million, His ability to communicate with the world surpasses anyone I've ever seen, the elder replied. Gu Qingshan nodded. Boss is naturally the strongest, otherwise he wouldn't have become the king of infinite origins. He really is strong, Gu Qingshan commented. The elder smiled. Indeed, he will sooner or later sense even more secrets behind the laws, surpassing this old man. The elder patted Gu Qingshan's shoulder, turned around, and left. Gu Qingshan fell into thought. Let's not talk about boss anymore. I need to seriously study the knowledge of the World Valley. I've already created a world technique, and I've already heard the elder's explanation about it. Now that I have such a chance, I really need to carefully study it. With that in mind, he walked to a corner of the field, sat down cross-legged, and silently pondered. The elder had said that the so-called world technique was created by using the 4 origin powers of earth, water, fire, and wind to induce a strand of the world's will to descend, then use this strand of will to resonate with the world to unleash a powerful technique. Before, the first time I created a world technique, I had to specifically search for the remains of a world that was destroyed by chaos and obtain the remnant world spirit and will to complete the technique. Because of that, the most important thing is to communicate with the world spirit. What method do I have to communicate with the world spirit? Gu Qingshan stayed silent for a while, then reached his hand out and lightly clenched it. An invisible fluctuation radiated from his body. Blessing of the past worlds. For some unknown reason, Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a sense of suffocation. He sat down on the ground, losing the ability to breathe. In front of him was the field, but Gu Qingshan could clearly see the truth beneath the surface of the world. Some sort of vast and boundless entity was constantly wandering through the void of space. A single thought from it, a single flight from it, could easily destroy the entire world valley. But it easily restrained this power, only providing the tiniest bit of power to nature in order to promote the growth of all things. A law behemoth, Gu Qingshan muttered. A law behemoth was a life form manifested from the laws, a branch of the world spirit. The elder had also said that they were still too young. Being able to communicate with a branch of the world spirit was already an impressive feat a split second later. The scene vanished. Gu Qingshan breathed heavily. His forehead was drenched in sweat as he laid on the ground, exhausted to the point of death. Road. Shroud's voice resounded from afar. He flew in front of Gu Qingshan and excitedly said, "Just now I saw you in the world of origin and laws. You finally succeeded." "Thank you." Gu Qingshan leaned back against the wall and slowly breathed heavily. Seeing him like this, Shroud chuckled. "It's like this for the first time. Once you're able to control how much you release your mind, you'll feel much better." Got it. Gu Qingshan was also a bit excited. He never thought that he would be able to see the other side of the world. That was the essence and truth of the world. For people of Shroud's era, this might be a foundation for growth, but this was the first time Gu Qingshan had experienced it. He had benefited greatly from it. Shroud suddenly lowered his voice and silently asked, "Road, when you entered the world of laws earlier, did you hear any voices?" "Voices?" Gu Qingshan asked in confusion. "Yes. Did you hear someone talking to you?" Shroud appeared anxious. "The elder said that we can only talk to the branches of the world spirit after we've grown up. It seems a bit too early right now," Gu Qingshan replied. "Not the world spirit. I'm talking about other voices," Shroud replied. "Other voices?" Gu Qingshan thought briefly, then shook his head. Shroud was a bit disappointed, but quickly regained his composure and said, "It's fine. You've only succeeded on your first try. Perhaps you'll hear them in the future. What voices did you hear?" Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. Shroud hesitated a bit, then looked up to observe his surroundings. At this point, the elder had already left. Most of the children on the field had also left, leaving only a few people behind. Shroud muttered, "I heard a lot of desperate screams, as well as cries for help. Those voices were filled with despair, but they were too far away from us, so I could only vaguely hear them." Gu Qingshan raised his eyebrows and became serious. He asked in a low voice, "Shroud, think carefully, what are those voices saying?" Shroud appeared confused and replied, I don't understand those languages, but the emotions mixed within them are the same, so I've summarized them into a word that we rarely see. What word? Gu Qin Shan asked. Shroud pursed his lips, then uttered a single word. Apocalypse. Chapter 1502. For some reason, Gu Qin Shan felt a sense of absurdity. Listen to all things was Yi Fei Li's ability, but Boss also had this ability. For Boss, this wasn't an ability, it was a technique. A world technique. Techniques were more complex, not as simple and direct as abilities, but they could be used to create more exquisite and unimaginable power. Did you hear the apocalypse? Gu Qin Shan asked. That's right. Shroud scratched his head and said, I feel like those living beings were uttering their final wails at the brink of death. Did you tell the elder about this? Gu Qin Shan asked. Shroud's expression appeared a bit confused as he replied. I asked the elder. He said that our world only has the cycle of life and death. All living beings remain in the realm of life, but will eventually head towards the eternally sealed realm of death. What did he say about the apocalypse? Gu Qin Shan pursued the question. He said that apocalypse is only a term for prophecy, an imaginary state that has never actually happened before, Shroud replied. Let me rephrase my question. What do you think the voices you heard came from? Gu Qin Shan asked again. Shroud scowled in thought for a long while before answering. I feel like those voices didn't come from the world because they were very faint, but outside of the world, there is only the space vortex, so it's very strange. Gu Qin Shan fell silent and didn't ask anything else. Through this one day of contact, he had understood a bit about this world's basic knowledge. The World Valley was a relatively high-level place of inheritance. In this era, the word world referred to a single place, which was the place where all living beings lived. Outside of the world, there was only the boundless space vortex. At this point in time, there was no concept of parallel worlds, nor did parallel worlds exist. Where exactly did the voices of the apocalypse come from? Gu Qin Shan suddenly had a thought. You said that you felt those voices were very faint. Do you have a way to describe this feeling? Gu Qin Shan asked. This question was a bit too difficult for an 8-year-old child to answer. Shroud pondered for a bit, then seriously described. It's like you're talking on the other side of the mountain, but I can hear you from the other side of the mountain, Gu Qin Shan continued. If that's the case, isn't it more like there's a door between them? Shroud's eyes lit up and nodded. Indeed, that's exactly what happened. Those people were screaming and screaming outside the door, although I couldn't hear them clearly. That's exactly what happened. Gu Qin Shan sighed inwardly. He was only 8 years old. He could hear voices outside the world gate. It was impossible to describe Boss's strength. Shroud clenched his fist with determination. I have a feeling that once I become stronger, I will be able to hear even more things. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Then let's work hard to become stronger together. The two of them looked at each other and saw Renito walking towards them. It's time for dinner, Shroud. I want to go eat with you, she spoke without hesitation. Okay, but I need to change my clothes. Wait for me here with Road. After saying so, Shroud ran away. Renito and Gu Qin Shan could only stand still and wait together. Gu Qin Shan didn't see any emotions in her eyes. Gu Qin Shan thought for a bit, then asked, Renito, were you hiding from something before you fell into the water? It was only now that he had the chance to ask the reason why she drowned. Renito replied, I was a slave of the forest of elves and giants. The forest of elves and giants. Gu Qin Shan exclaimed in shock. That forest was almost as large as an entire world, located to the north of the World Valley, quite far away. Renito lowered her gaze and muttered. Indeed, it was the forest that no living beings from the outside world were allowed to enter. My sister and I couldn't stand being enslaved by the giants, so we wanted to escape to the elven territory, but were caught up by the giants' patrols. My sister was caught by the giants in order to protect me. She should have been eaten by them by now. I was the only one left to escape by myself. In the end, I had no choice but to jump into a fast-flowing river. Because I was worried that the giants would chase after me, I died of exhaustion. It was thanks to you that I was saved. Gu Qin Shan's thoughts turned and asked, What kind of creature were the forest giants exactly? Cruel, vicious, selfish, and heartless, Reneedle replied. Guqin Shan was a bit intrigued and was about to ask again, but Reneedle spoke up first. Road, you always like to ask others to ask him. It's going to make people feel disgusted. Guqin Shan froze. Reneedle turned around and headed towards the canteen. Prying into someone else's past is a very rude thing to do. You can wait here for Shroud. I'm going to eat first. She left. Guqin Shan stood still, his gaze turning grim. A person who swore to win against fate, to slay all evil, he muttered to himself. All of a sudden, his surroundings became dark. Everything was isolated from the darkness. Boss's voice resounded again. I've never doubted Reneedle's words, nor did I investigate them. I've probably fallen in love with her from the very beginning, but one day, when I wanted to know the truth, it was already too late, so I set up a causality law technique. This causality goes like this. Prove Reneedle's words, or expose her lies. After achieving this goal, you will automatically obtain the second sealing token. This is a causality law that I set up myself. Not even Reneedle can do anything about it. Guqin Shan, you can stay in this era to cultivate, or help me find out the truth and obtain the sealing token. All in all, I don't have any other friends. That's up to you. Boss's voice slowly faded away. Guqin Shan stood still and silently listened. If I find the truth, I'll obtain the second sealing token. Or should I not search for the sealing token at all and stay in this era to cultivate together with Boss? If that's the case, I might be able to become as powerful as the Lord of Eternal Origins. No, there's no meaning in living in the past. Boss's body was still destroyed by the apocalypse in the end. The most important thing to do is to make sure that Reneedle doesn't obtain the other half of Boss's body. Guqin Shan took a deep breath, turned around, and ran towards a secluded area of the valley. The river. The river flowed without stopping, flowing for thousands of miles from the upper reaches, passing through the World Valley and into the distance. Guqin Shan stood at the edge of the river and looked upstream. There is only a single such river in this world, one that connected all civilizations and all regions. In many civilizations, it was known as the River of Fate. Reneedle was brought to the World Valley by this river. Guqin Shan quickly stepped into the water. The cold, turbulent water flowed around his body, as if urging him to follow the current. All right, I'll go investigate the forest of elves and giants, Guqin Shan muttered. He walked against the flow of the river, heading upwards. At another location, within the world of the spire that drifted along the river of time, Boss stood at the top of a lonely tower, holding a glass of liquor in his hand as he silently watched the cold rain. Even after countless years had passed, the memories that seemed hazy would always become clear at certain moments. They were reminding him that everything wasn't over yet. Reneedle, he sighed with a sorrowful expression. The rain was getting heavier. All of a sudden, a figure shot towards him from afar and landed next to him. It's not a good habit to get soaked in the rain, Bali commented. He offered Boss a cigar. I'm not used to this, Boss refused. Bali lit the cigar with the flame on his fingertip and mocked. What? You got beaten up by me in the afternoon, and now you're hiding and crying? The leader's brows twitched, and there was a hint of anger in his voice. Bastard Bali, we agreed this was supposed to be a boxing match, yet you're still hitting me everywhere. Ahahaha, naive brat. There's nothing you wouldn't do in a fight. If you don't even know how to be shameless, what else can you do? Shameless? I've never been like you, going around owing money. The two of them exchanged glances. Boss suddenly received the cigar and lit it. I'll make it clear first, when I beat the shit out of you, you're not allowed to beg for mercy, he casually declared. Bali smirked and said, I'll feed you my shit, boom. A thunderous explosion. The two of them took to the sky and began to fight with their bodies in the pouring rain. Far away, a few dozen miles away, a bar. Meow coldly laughed and spoke with a mocking tone. Rude men, I'll bet 20 renminbi on my bro. Jang Young-ho pushed his sunglasses up a bit, took out 30 renminbi from his pocket, and threw it on the bar. Big sis Meow, this is the romance of a man. I'll bet on Boss. Yi Fei Li was holding a video game console in her hand, casually tossing a few coins on the table, and said, "I'll bet on Bali." Jang Young-ho glared at him. Yi Fei-li didn't even look up and explained, "This is a brawl, not a fight to the death. Boss is too arrogant, not dirty enough." Anna had been silently listening the entire time, then nodded and agreed. "That's right, Bali is too dirty when he fights. I'll bet on Bali." Saying so, she raised the bottle and gulped it down. "Hey, where's your bet money?" Jang Young-ho asked. Anna clapped her hands. Lola jumped up and slammed a large bag of gems on the table. Everyone went silent. "Your bet is too much. We're just playing around. Can you not do this?" Jang Young-ho struggled to speak. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.